Oh, I guess that's your mindset.
Yep.
It's unfortunate, but whatever.
Garrus, do you think you accept it because not believing it is scary, and subconsciously maybe it's just too much?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, like in my everyday today life, in my normal everyday today life, to me, it doesn't really matter like what the shape of the Earth is. Like I don't. It's not like I do something where I constantly have to like think about it or be involved in it, whether it was flat or round. So, like, I don't really think so. I mean, yeah, you know, I use all these technologies every day. Like, I use my phone and I use all that stuff. People fly all over the world, stuff, and all of that stuff is based on a globe. So either they've saying it's based on a globe and it's not and it still works, or it is on a globe and it still works. So everything still works. So like it doesn't like bother me that much, I guess.
So, but it wouldn't bother you that they were lying to you, right? I guess because it really bothers a lot of other people.
I mean, if I found out that they were lying to me, yeah, it would probably bother me more. I just don't. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think the government doesn't have secrets or doesn't do like shit that they don't like tell us about or whatever. But I don't know. I don't see what the point of lying about like space or the shape of the Earth. I don't see what control that establishes.
Well, remember how they used Santa Claus to control us on what we could do and what we could think. So this is just probably another version of that. Them just lying to the adults.
What do you mean by using Santa Claus?
So
to control us.
The military, yeah, they would use NORAD to say, "Oh, we're tracking Santa Claus. Here he is on the system. We can see it on the satellite system." And so even NORAD was in on the gag or the joke, or I guess the scam. So
I mean, that's just something they tell little kids. Like I didn't raise my kids believing in Santa Claus. We told them where the gifts came from, but we also told them that some people think that Santa brings them. So, you know, don't ruin their fun because that's a fun thing that they may do with their families. So, like,
well, good for you.
So
what, you didn't want to lie?
It's not that we didn't want to lie to them because it's not like I don't know. My parents told me there was Santa Claus until I was like, I don't know, like 10, 11, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And
Same.
I never like turned around and like thought that was like the ultimate betrayal.
Oh no, no. In fact, they had to go along with it almost, right? If they didn't go along with it, they would have been shamed. So yeah, they were amazing.
Nobody shamed me when I told my parents and I told all my family, hey, we're not like, you don't have to, when you get my gifts presents, just say it's from auntie and uncle. You don't have to pretend it's from Santa Claus.
Well, good for you, man. Props to that. That's really cool. I think
what was the whole point of Santa? What was the point of Santa? It was in case you didn't have much money to buy presents, you could blame the crappy presents on someone else.
Santa was a Coca-Cola thing, so like mainstream Santa. So, sorry.
Well, I think it's more than just Coca-Cola, like Old Saint Nick. I hear you though. There was like a Coca-Cola kind of media. We could go on to that. I just want to say real quick, like with the whole lying thing, like shouldn't it just be a default that we should never lie to our children? For example, you could say to your children, like there could be a cultural norm like, hey, we like to pretend that there's a Santa Claus. It's really fun. And we pretend that there's this guy with reindeer and he's at the North Pole and he brings you presents. But it's just for fun, kids. We're just playing. So, hey, let's play Santa Claus. Like you could be honest and you could still play Santa Claus. You know, you could still, oh, kids, you know, pretend like it's Santa Claus that brought them. You know, it's fun to think about. Just to give the kids like, you know, just to tell them that like, you know, if you really want to, like, I don't feel a need to do that, but I'm just saying, like, technically, couldn't you just say that you're going to pretend Santa Claus exists, but just be honest instead of trying to tell them it's real and trick them? Like, shouldn't we just have a rule that we should just never lie to our kids, no matter what?
Yes.
I mean, with the Santa Claus thing, yeah, I could get behind definitely what you're saying. Like, you totally could be like, hey, this is this kind of this fun thing that we do, and we're going to pretend it's from Santa. You know, I don't really know. Like, guys, I haven't really looked into the history too much of Christmas, to find out like why it actually like started with Santa Claus. As I said, I only kind of know the slightly more modern where kind of Coke took it over and kind of commercialized it a lot. But
Real. The Roadrunner's real. You know, like when you watch this cartoon, he's a real guy. That's what it would be like, because they're telling us that Santa is real, and it's not. But when you watch cartoons, generally parents are like, oh yeah, like, you know, this is not real, kid. Like, it's a cartoon. Like, so we tell our kids the cartoons are fake, and then they're just fun, and you can get into it and get into the characters. But then with Santa Claus, we tell them it's real, and that this guy really is coming down your chimney. You know, this overweight guy coming down with a bunch of presents, and he's all jolly, and he's going to eat the cookies and drink the milk and leave you a PlayStation 2. So it's just, well, PlayStation 2 would have been many years ago. He's going to leave you a PlayStation, and so why do we tell the kids it's real? See, I do think there's like a social programming thing. They're trying to blend the lines between what's real and fantasy. And so they're telling the kids the cartoons are fake, but Santa's real. And then they get the kids all confused, like, oh, well, Santa's real and the cartoons are fake. And then at some point it's like, oh, Santa was fake as well. We just lied to you about that one, and the cartoons are still fake. It's just, it does seem like there's some social programming component to that we somehow like normalize just lying to all of our kids. And then obviously, like, from the view that the earth is not a globe, and there's like larger lies as well. But is it a much larger like kind of social like grooming process where they're trying to kind of get kids used to believing lies and being tricked, and then how to lie to others? It's like, how, you know, it's like teaching parents how to lie to their kids and then teaching their kids how to lie to their kids. And why wouldn't you just be honest about it? Be like, hey, Santa's not real, but we like to, you know, have decorations and pretend like he brings Christmas presents. It just seems like we should be honest to our kids.
so, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, people do all sorts of well-meaning stuff that they think is well-meaning and fun, and you know, that great. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, like I think the Earth is a globe. So I don't know if I can go with you all the way there, but I can see what you're saying.
Remember though, the Satan is more subtle than any beast. But when it comes to lying, there's this one document. I did a video on it, and I found in my research that there was a study done. I have to memorize his name, but he found that when children are lied to, they end up growing up to be adult liars. And I guess that's pretty obvious. And I think he found a correlation. The more they were lied to, the more they lie themselves.
I mean, yeah, kids, you know, they're little parrots. Like, they grow up and they copy what they see. So
Yeah, I mean, the whole Santa Claus thing is a way to. What was I going to say? It's a way to normalize lying to children.
Yes.
And it kind of gets that normalized as well. Like, you watch, it's the same kind of dynamic. You watch Star Wars and we all know it's fake, but then they tell us they're really, you know, probing Mars in real life. So there's this same, like, in the movies, space is all fake, but then we're supposed to also believe that it's actually real and that, you know, NASA's actually going there. It's like, some people say NASA is kind of like the Santa Claus version for adults.
Absolutely.
What if you found out? What if you found out that later on in life you found out you were actually not just adopted, but you also had a sex change as a baby?
Oh man, that's is that a thing? People are just
that would be a rough Tuesday.
Yes, I've never heard that one before. Thank you.
There's this funny little golf commercial thing where they're like, it's a man and a woman, and the guy's about to tee off playing golf, and he says, you know, honey, before I just have to tell you, you know, I had an affair many years ago. I'm really sorry. you know, and she's like, oh, all right, it was many years ago, and I forgive you. And then when she gets up to hit her ball, she says, oh, hey, honey, I have something to tell you as well. I'm actually a man. I was born a man. And the guy freaking out, and then he says at the end of it, he says, and you've been playing from the ladies' tees all this time?
Oh, that's what he complains about. Yeah.
The joke is that like she told him there's some echo. She told him he's a man, and then he's upset about is that he's been getting playing from the ladies' tees closer up all that time.
Twisted.
That's funny.
Well, I would agree with what you were saying, Gio, in regards to stop lying to children, because those lies are going to cause a cascading effect through. Wait, did you just say you just now figured it out?
No, back then I figured it out. When I was a kid.
Wait, Santa's not real? Are you serious?
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I spoiled it.
You know what else? You know what else about it is it's so connected to capitalism too, and the whole like kind of bribing children, like with the behavior thing, and you know, don't misbehave in school. You know, learn all your things you're being taught. You know, don't rebel. Be a good boy or a good girl, and then you get the presents. So there's this whole like attachment. It's a deception, but then it's connected to materialism and getting presents and getting things, and then the whole fixation on like children. I mean, it's when you see those videos of a kid like getting a PlayStation for Christmas and he's all happy. Obviously, it's kind of fun because the kid's happy. But when you think about it, like it's almost like a manic level. Like the kids are like crying, like they're that excited to get a PlayStation. And I mean, PlayStations are cool, but they're also kind of I think video games are a whole nother topic. There is some good things about them. They develop hand-eye coordination and how to succeed maybe in a video game. There is some good things, but on another level, it is sort of this consumption of a lot of like creative energy that goes into, you know, these material toys and things rather than potentially the child like, you know, learning some skills or learning how to play piano or something that might be a bit more, you know, kind of like nourishing on a deeper level. But anyways, it's just Christmas is all connected to the capitalism and the materialism and the kind of bribing kids with toys and material goods. So I don't think it's a coincidence that this whole Santa Claus thing and lying to them is also connected to the capitalism and the materialism and kind of toys and either getting toys or not getting toys. And then, you know, Santa Claus is the one that's going to denote whether you have fun by getting toys or not, depending on your behavior. It's kind of seems like a control mechanism.
Yeah, even tied to the globe, right? Because they'll say, look, he's in the North Pole. He's in the North Pole, and NORAD is going to see him go around the globe. So, yeah, it even goes to the globe these days.
Yeah, that idea ruins a lot of holidays, I feel, Gio, where it's like it's to the point where like people, if you don't get them something on a certain day, rather than it being from the heart, it's like an expectance of material.
You're saying like you're saying other holidays too. You're saying like all the kind of gift giving and holidays.
Yeah, it's,
you mean other?
You know, there's people who there's people who genuinely, you know, maybe they can't even afford to get the family gifts, but it, you know, if at this point if you don't do it, it's kind of like a, you know, people build a resentment because everybody else is partaking in the materialism. It's kind of expected.
So true.
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with you saying on capitalism and the materialism, Gio. I mean, like you were talking about cartoons earlier. Like, I mean, cartoons are basically were just vehicles for toy lines, for the most part. You know, action figures and stuff, and you know, it's just to try and get the kids interested in that, so they'll go ask for more toys, and you know. So yeah, it's. I mean, as far as capitalism goes, yeah, it's definitely all kind of connected.
Yeah, and would you say that some of that, like when giving all the presents to kids and all that, because obviously kids want to have fun and they want to have cool stuff to play with, obviously, but the way that it's linked to your behavior kind of thing, do you think in any way, okay, so you may or may not agree in terms of like the indoctrination that goes on in schools and stuff. I don't know what your take is on like what percentage of things they teach in schools are, truthful and good things, and then what percentage are either lies or indoctrination. I would imagine you must think some of it is, even if you don't think as much as some others might think. But and I'm just saying, do you think the presence is connected to basically like you have to behave and allow yourself to be indoctrinated and to kind of submit to the indoctrination in order to get the presence? And then if you don't submit to it, like you're rebelling or you're not doing quote unquote well in school, or you're reacting or you're not willing to sit and learn whatever they're teaching you, and then you rebel or whatever, then your behavior is bad or whatever, and then you don't get the presents. So you get like starved, you get starved from the toys if you don't obey, allowing yourself to be submissive to, the demands of the system and how indoctrination plays into that. Do you think that's a factor?
So I don't necessarily like the for the whole like just if sticking with the toy part. I don't necessarily like the reinforcing the good behavior with the toys, because like the good behavior in itself in the perfect world is its own reward for good behavior. Now with regards to like indoctrination and stuff, I'm pretty normy, so like I don't really think there's too much going on at the public schools as far as like indoctrination, or at least not anything that I've seen from working with the kids at home on like math homework, or like little science projects and stuff like that. So I don't know if that fully answers your question, but that's kind of how I feel about using the toys as like a reward for good behavior.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, because you're saying that like the good behavior should just be a thing in and of itself, ideally, with the child. Like you should be potentially ideally just helping that child to, be at peace with others, for kind of social harmony and for productivity and getting along and being able to have a balanced life and all that. So yeah. And then but to hinge all that on like, that you don't get the material goods if your behavior is off, rather than, okay, well, your behavior's off, let's figure out why that's the case and help them, rather than just saying, okay, well, now you just don't get to play your PlayStation. So yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying there. And yeah, I mean, if you don't think there is indoctrination, then I guess maybe you would not link the kind of behavioral kind of blackmail or kind of bribing that kind of goes on in some households and as kind of the cultural norm, meaning that like, oh, if you don't do well in school, then you're not going to get, a PlayStation for Christmas kind of thing. If you don't get good grades, you know, you're not going to get the
Well,
material items, and then vice versa. If you do get good grades, then you will get the material items, and then that's reinforced in later life when you're an adult. Like, oh, you have to get a job and work your job and do this and that in order to have your material. Instead of getting presents, you have to do that in order to survive and be able to buy, buy a car or whatever you need to buy in terms of working.
I think if you're phrasing it that way, yeah, that's probably not a good way to put it. But I think if you're teaching them about, um, you know, being nice and social standards and treating people the way you want to be treated, then I think that's perfectly fine to demonstrate to someone that, hey, if you're not being nice, then why would I do nice things for you? I don't. If you just phrase it as, you know, do this thing I want you to do, and you get material goods, then that's probably the right way to go about it.
Sorry, I just pulled up at home, so I got to go deal with the family now. But thanks for keeping me company on my drive home.
Gio, you brought up the thing about video games. I kind of isn't that how all art works though? Somebody I mean, I don't know if you look at video games as art. I look at a lot of game designers and the people who worked on the visuals as artists, but I feel like that's a lot of art that if you're only partaking in the consumption and not the inspiration that comes from the art, then that's a downfall for a lot of people. Same goes with TV and movies. If you just sit and watch TV and movies all the time, you're not really doing anything.
Oh, I'm still here. Anchovy, I was kind of doing something, then I had to go back on the live stream to hear what you had said. But you're saying that like the consumption of media, like movies, and you're saying that if you're only consuming it, you're not really being inspired by the actual.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
being inspired by it?
any art form, right? Like, if you're just staring at paintings, or if you're just listening to music, or if you're just playing video games, I would say it's pretty detrimental. But if you're actually taking things from the art, then at that point is when it becomes useful.
That's interesting. Yeah. Huh. There's this song, this band named Goose, like the bird, like the goose, and they have a whole new album and stuff, and one of their songs is called Media off this new album, and the lyrics are, it's like, my mind has been consumed by media, is what one of the lyrics is, like, my mind has been consumed by media. That's kind of the lyrics, and it kind of has this like intense energy to it when you think about that kind of idea, like. But is that what you're referring to? Like that? That's kind of an interesting dynamic. But the difference between like watching something and just kind of consuming it in some way, where it's just kind of going like in one ear and out the other, and you're just kind of like a little bit brain, like your brain is kind of numb while you're watching it or something, and there's just sort of this entertainment thing. Are you kind of comparing that versus like something where you're using the intake of it to actually like become inspired, or to learn something, or to grow, or in some kind of productive way?
Yeah, because I think video games have this stigma, like you pointed out, and I do agree. People can waste their life away on those, but I would say the same thing for any art form, where like video games, for the person who just plays it and takes nothing away from it, sure, it's a waste of time. But for the person who's uh, then maybe they want to be a video game creator themselves, or an artist, or make music for games, or maybe like hand-eye coordination, like you said. Those things I feel like apply to every single art. You know, if you're just sitting there listening to music your whole life and wasting your time in your room listening to music, well, that's a waste of time. But if you're someone who's aspiring to be an artist or a musician yourself, well, then it's a great, you know, way to study the people before you. Or maybe you're
You,
taking the lyrics in from a certain song and that inspires your worldviews, then that's useful.
i-
Sounds like
if
spoken from
if
someone
hang on a
who's
minute, hang on a
not
minute, hang on
actually
a minute,
knowledgeable.
hang on a minute. If
Yeah,
music
yeah,
brings
yeah.
you great joy, that is not a waste of time, Anchovy, is it?
Well, well, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying there usually there's that same
You just
idea,
said
right?
it.
No, I said if you're
Music
just
is
sitting
not
there listening to it. I didn't say if you're bringing joy from it.
music is not about going in the steps of others, trying to recreate what other people have played from hopefully their hearts. But you know, most of the industry today is just copy pasta, and nothing has any soul if that even has existence. Like if you're gonna just go on to video games and try and like go about it that way, the only thing you're doing is like you're creating memes. You're not really creating artwork, and therefore, the more you actually go on to doing it through, let's say, the video gaming or copy pasta route, the less knowledgeable you're going to be about any, well, playing the music instrument from your heart uh, as possible. Like you're dissociating your talent, really. So your advice goes, is it like in conflict with the actual path that you could take?
I agree with you partially. Like, I think if you're trying to learn a technical skill, it's perfectly fine to copy the things before you, and then after that, factoring in your expression. But I don't think you should just ignore copying others just because it's not original work.
So if it's just about pure technicality, you're also actually wrong there because the
I
music
didn't say
instrument you're
pure.
playing,
It's a mixture.
well,
It's a mixture of both.
uh, it certainly is, and therefore you don't go about in the copy paste manner because you don't actually understand the expression or how to express yourself when you're copy pasting. So you're not training, you're not actually developing, you're not in the right environment to develop the knowledge of how to play the instrument from your heart when you're trying to copy paste because you're not in the zone or in yourself. Your focus is completely off, and yeah, you're not in flow. You're just you're in a representative or in a state of representation, and you're not. That's not a place where you want to be learning how to place your fingers on, let's say, the guitar to play chords from. The right way to go about it is to naturally be pulled to the instrument by emotional affection and naturally place your fingers because you're expressing the tone because you're putting melody to your emotions, and from there you naturally just build knowledge of placements of your fingers in accords to the chords, so on and so forth, and you'll develop way fucking faster than you'd ever would looking at some guy showing you how to play the grip here and there.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree with you. I think we're getting away from the point though. I was just saying that what Gio said about video games, I personally think applies to every single art form.
Video games aren't much of an art form.
What's that?
Video games aren't an art form.
Well, that's your opinion.
No, it's pretty much just models that can you can go into like a model that is a universe and just run around with things like it's just mathematical models.
Yeah, somebody came up with that world and they had artists create the art for that art for that game. So I don't see what you're saying.
So sure, we can say that a texture is like a painting that is projected onto a surface of a mathematical model, but adding vertices into Blender or Maya or any of these 3D software programs, that's not an artwork. That's not an artist. It's misconfused.
Okay.
Of course, you don't want to hear that because you'd perhaps like to imagine those being artists, but they're not truly artists in the pure sense.
Sure.
They're just working with software, pulling mathematical vertices around, making them, extrude and fit together and merge, construing
Well, I'm
something.
not going to argue with you about it. I also look at movies as art, even if they're if you're just recording somebody's body, right? Doesn't mean it's not art. If you're talking about a painting, you could say it's just paint. It's not art, right? You're being a little too hyper technical.
No, I just have a good standard, and you would like to make the standard more dissolved because you'd like to introduce something into the fold that I don't include because I hold a high standard because I'm an actual artist.
Okay, Simon, you're right.
I kind of find this interesting, the idea of Plato talking about. I was just asking ChatGPT about it actually because I remember something about it, and it says here. I just basically put Plato and Socrates. They had issues with poets. He's suspicious of poets because they don't deal in truth; they deal in imitation. Poetry, drama, epic stories, all of that is seen as a copy of a copy. Reality, the forms / truth, the highest level, physical world, already an imperfect copy. Poetry, art, a copy of an imperfect world. So poets are twice removed from truth. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the confusion here lies with the part with representation, because pure expression is not representation. So when you think art is mimicry or representation, like creating mathematical models, then you have completely misunderstood art, because art is expression. When you're playing the musical instrument, you're not representing chords, you are playing. And that is a fundamental shift from the artist being in the world as opposed to living in an after the fact of something, trying to mimic or copy or retell a story. So in the theater, when you have actors who go on the stage and they just retell the lines, like they just the lines just drop out of them, you immediately can tell that they are not artists. They're just people go up there and just spitting out the lines, and every good actor coach, they'll just take their hand up to their face and just hope that it will end soon, unless they have the power to just stop the audit because it's too bad. And when you get good actors, they are just living on the stage, and it's so good that you'd hope it never end, and you're just taken back in your seat. And there you have the actual artist. It's a huge difference. But most people are conflating the two because most people are stuck up with the amateurs that are trying for their lives to attempt get to the place where the artist is just naturally in flow.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that to a certain extent. But listen to this: a few key criticisms. They mislead emotionally. Poets stir feelings more than reason, and Socrates worries that makes people irrational or morally unstable. They don't really know what they're talking about. A poet can write about war, justice, or gods without actually understanding them. They shape characters in the wrong direction, especially tragic poetry, which encourages indulgence in grief, anger, etc. That's why in Plato's ideal society, or in city, it says here, poets are either tightly controlled or even banished unless they can justify their work as truth-serving. That's interesting, isn't it?
Well, if your parakeet can keep up with what I'm saying, I already refuted that. Aristotle is not actually talking to the actual poet. He's talking to a pseudo-poet. And yes, a pseudo-poet does that. They fuck it up. He's right.
Well, no, he's talking about misleading through emotion. That's really what he's talking about. We see that done
Yeah, well, then he's
time
just
and time
talking
again.
about using emotions as a means of deception. Now we're not talking about artists anymore. We're talking about dude, now we're talking about con artists, not artists. Like it's a derivative within, and they're not really artists either. The claim to the title is fucking benign.
Reminds me of NASA. Right?
So
They use artists for. Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
They are artists. That's what NASA is. They're an artist media company.
Yeah,
No,
they
all
hired
kinds of-
Robert Simon.
no, no. They're pseudo artists. They're con artists at best.
Yeah, yeah.
In your sense of the
con
world,
Are con artists still artists?
They got the artist
no,
in there, but
they're not. They're tryhards. They really want to be artists, but they're really bad at it.
I
Like
would say
they aren't.
they're still artists. I think they're still artists.
No, it's not artist. It's not being an artist. It's so, like if you just want to say that they're expressing something, and that's you reduced our art to expression, then sure, they are expressing a con, but they aren't doing much more than that.
so is art based on reality? And then maybe art that's not based in reality is not necessarily art, maybe?
That seems to be what he's trying to say. I to me, what I just read at least, it seems to imply. Well, he asks another question, implies another question, doesn't it? Because it's talking about truth. Does it serve truth or not? And that really implies, well, what is truth? You know, that's what is that?
Truth is,
and I would argue that the artists are so good that they've misled people and taken them down the road where they don't know what that is anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's not the artist that has done that. The artist gets a person closer to truth, and truth is just correspondence with reality. So the artist who plays by his heart will have the audience moved back into themselves, being cognizant and more self-aware and more in tune and more aligned with the world, if not just purely so. You're talking about the reversal here, or an inversion attempting to masquerade as being the artist. So you're just in a way, shape or form, that's pretty much a satanic claim to what an artist is. It's yeah.
Oh man,
Like-
this was a difficult conversation to listen to while working out. There was so many things that I wanted to say. So first off, why are you gatekeeping what art is? So what art do you make
dude, what the
exactly?
fuck?
Well, you
No,
are
I'm not
kind of.
gatekeeping. No, no. I'm not.
Okay, what art
What
do you
I'm
do?
hearing now is
You said you were an
someone
artist.
who
What art do you do? I just want to know.
I paint, I sing, I play music, I
Okay, so you
write.
move paints around. Okay.
I'm an actor.
Your voice tonation changes.
I'm pretty much within every field.
I just want to know why you don't think games have art in them. That's just bizarre to me. So you think like games like Claire
That's
Obscure,
another
Expedition 33
bro.
aren't art?
That's an entirely different point. Games can have art in them,
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't dispute games having art in them. I mean,
Okay.
you can. I already said a texture, right, can be artistic, right?
Well,
Did
no,
you
it's
remember that?
well. So let's get something clear here. It's not just a matter of the textures. It's a composition, right? So in art, it's all based upon the composition, whether it's different
Your
things in a
personal
book.
definition. Your
Okay,
personal
that's
definition is
fine.
that it's
Yeah.
based upon
Well,
composition.
so
Okay.
let me explain. Well, okay. Well, let me explain. So it's not only just the characters, how they look, how their character is developed, the scenes and the scenarios that they're faced with, the music also, all coinciding into this particular scenery that you could interpret on many different levels as art. You could, depending on the lens through which you're viewing it, you could interpret so many dimensions of art within a given scene, right? It's all kind of, it's
Being able to being yeah, you have spoken enough. Being able to use your ability to interpret things into multitudes by the fact that you have imaginative capacities, it doesn't make it more or less art. And saying that art is based upon composition is a reduction. It's like a compositional reduction or formalist reduction of art.
well, it's how it's composed. How could you, what I
No,
maybe
it's
you're
not. An art
no, it's not.
artwork can
Okay.
obviously
I guess
artwork can
it's just
obviously
agree to
be
disagree.
composed. Dude, no, you just want to disagree because you just want to have
No,
like
and
a
this is what
pro
I
instead
mean
pro
by your
argument.
gatekeeping.
No, there's no gatekeeping, dude. It's just that I have a whole higher standard than your compositional
And now you're
reduction,
saying
dude.
that my standard is lower. See, that's
It
even
is
more
because
gatekeeping. You're
no,
proving my point
there's no
even more.
gatekeeping. There's no gatekeeping. It's drawing a
Okay, what are you
line and
doing then?
saying
You're
that
just
you're
your
I'm
higher
drawing a line.
standard is arbitrarily greater than mine per you. Okay, got it.
That is your interpretation.
That's literally what you just said. You just said
No.
you interpret it at a higher standard.
No,
Come
you
on,
forced it
dude.
into being interpretation when it's not. And you're the one who wants to reduce it into a compositional reduction or
I'm
formalist
not saying,
reduction.
I'm saying the composition, the entire thing, how the entire thing is composed. Looking at the
The
bigger
entire
picture
thing, yeah,
is
the bigger
another
picture.
way of
Wow. And what is that?
interpreting the art.
Yes, go one
What?
step, go a step or two or three further out into the meta, and let's
Okay,
see if you're
take me
able
a
to
step
actually
or
see
two
it.
or three further up then, please.
Don't repeat my words that verbatim, just fucking
Well,
do
you're
it
telling
yourself.
me how it is, so tell me how it is.
Okay, so I'm gonna use your language back at you, and you're gonna hear how ludicrous it sounds. Artists being able to see at this stage and that stage in the framing, and there in the spot right there is the sheep on the ground, and then you can go further out and see the sheep in many different perspectives, and then you have
Arguably,
some
that sheep was put
composition.
there for a
You can
reason.
you can have some geometry there, and because of the fact the person put the thing there and put the paint there and used some color and some grain and some stuff that pigments colors etc, therefore it is art because he did that stuff. And even also if it is inside a computer stuff, it's also art because look, there's a vertex and then we did so many vertices that it created the illustration of a realistic scene, and that's artwork, etc, etc. I mean, great. Okay.
Is it
Okay, dude.
wrong?
Okay, so you now, so just saying, is it wrong means that I was spot on. Okay, I think the carpet has closed and we can move on.
Is it wrong? You didn't answer the question.
You know what was just art? My uh, my just now recital of your actions. That was art. That was flow.
Maybe,
Is it
debatably.
wrong? Is it
You
wrong?
don't even
Yeah,
want to
of
answer
course you
my
can. Yeah,
question, dude.
don't
What
interrupt
was
them. I
wrong with what
am
you
in.
said,
I
though?
am answering you, dudes.
No,
If you
look,
aren't,
look, look, look. Just to level with you, I just want to understand what you think is wrong with what you said in terms of that interpretation that you have about what I said.
so you can keep asking questions. and be naive and unaware.
No, I'm asking you because I want you. Obviously, you're at a higher standard. I want you to enlighten me. I don't want to be in naivete for the rest of my life.
If that is the case, then you wouldn't have been acting in the manner that you are throughout this
Now you're
session.
taking offense.
No, I'm
You don't
not
have to
taking
take
offense.
offense. I'm
No,
not.
I'm
I'm
just
sorry if
describing
I
your
came off
position in
as
the conversation.
aggressive.
Okay, I'm glad that you are apologizing for your ill-mannered behaviors now just earlier.
All right, what's
I'm.
the topic? What's the topic here?
Art.
Did you say
Just
art?
became. Yeah, it became it. But let's go back. I think we were talking about. They were talking about how computer models and mathematics, being able to use the software on a computer, making highly realistical worlds of which you can lose yourself within, such as a computer game, essentially is art. When I'm just saying that it's just a really boresome representation to get lost in because you're
I don't know. You
escaping.
lost me. I was following you for a second, but I think you
Let's
lost me
just
when you said representation weird. I think that's when you lost me.
okay. So Jeremy, do you consider, let's say, playing Assassin's Creed, is that art, the game?
Oh, big time. Super Mario 3, just classic pieces of art. Why? You don't think that's art?
Yeah,
You're
it's not
wildin'.
art.
You're bugging.
It's not art.
That's not it. That's unhinged right there.
Mario is
There's
not
some
art.
great. Yeah, are you crazy?
No.
I mean, like it or not, E.T. on Atari. That was art. It wasn't fucking good. It was art.
Yeah, well, you want to see it as art? I
I mean, it's
call it a
literally art,
nosedive.
right? People drew those like things.
Like you are reducing art to being like a loose honorific or something for anything that's designed.
Well, it's something we created. We created you go to a play, we make a play, we can make a video game, you can make a song, you could paint a picture, you can make a sculpture. There's a lot of things you could do. You could create for it to be art, but a video games is one of the, I think, better than the Sistine Chapel and shit. That shit's boring. You got some cave painting from 30,000 years ago. Ooh, wow. Watch out for these guys. I got Super Mario Brothers. You
Okay,
can't you
so
can't fuck with that.
I think I found a smoking gun for both you and the other guy, and that is that art elements inside a thing is not the same as the thing itself is art.
I don't know what you just said, dude. I have
I
no
remember
clue
having
what you
this.
just said.
I remember having this
Get a
huge debate with somebody about whether art was objective or subjective. My argument is very simple. It's obviously subjective because two people can look at the same thing and come up with a different, like a comedian, like they could
I think
find it
some
funny.
things are objective, like that ET thing I said about Atari. That's pretty objective, you
Is
know.
there an objective standard for art? I think is kind of an interesting topic. Well, it can be, I suppose. Some people, not everybody's cup of tea.
Beauty's an eye of the beholder. So there may be a dude
Exactly.
out there that thought that ET game was fire and they loved it and shit. So who knows?
Well, I'd like to hear what Synact has to say about the whatever he was saying about the elements of art and the art itself or something.
I don't know. Was that the last thing he said? Because I didn't even understand it.
Yeah, I think so.
But are you arguing for video games or art?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Video
bro. It's
games are
not even a
definitely art. Of course
yeah,
they are.
dude. It's crazy. That's one of the dopest art pieces you can get. Who cares about some stained glass window or they got some pretty neat sculptures out there, but still, like, you got a video game. That's like a crazy. Just some of the most in depth art you could get.
Yeah, you got visuals, you got music in the background to go with the visuals. You know, everything's moving
You're in
around. It's
it. You're
Yeah,
controlling the. You're fucking controlling the art, bro. Holy shit! It's like a pick your own adventure book from back in the day. Remember? Oh, do you want to go in a cave or do you want to go up the mountain? And then you had to go to page 42 or page 117, depending on which option. Remember that?
yeah. It's way crazier than like traditional art forms are.
Yeah, I think it's
But
some of the most intense art you could be involved with.
oh, for sure. But the thing is, I watched this documentary on a former graphic artist. No, sorry, a sound artist for the video game industry. And he was saying from his experience, it's demonic. So, for instance,
Well,
he
that's
was
a whole other discussion.
yeah. Like, for instance, in the artwork, in the gameplay, right? Sometimes when you're in a shooting or in a haunted, let's say the gameplay is regarding like Resident Evil, or like a shooting game where you're killing people. Those sound effects usually come from like tortured animals. He was saying. So can you imagine
That's
people? Yeah.
I'm
that's
sure
pretty
there's some
crazy.
sick stuff. I'm sure not all of it is like that though. You tell me that the noises Kirby used to make or Mario is demonic. Like I don't know.
No, maybe not that stuff. Yeah.
I'm sure there's like a My Little Pony video game or something that's or Rainbow Bright or something.
But
So
like,
video
imagine
games,
Synact. Imagine
yeah.
like you had the ability to make a game and you were able to integrate not only your art, but your music and maybe like your poetry all in this game.
What
Yeah,
if
Wouldn't
we're
yeah.
you?
in the game? What if we're
I
actually
was
in the fucking game right now?
I was just about to respond to it, and it's going also to address your question right here.
Sorry, go
And
ahead.
just so you know, I do have background in 3D design and animation, so it's not like I'm speaking out of my ass.
I
So
didn't. I
so
never
you see,
assumed you were. Sorry.
it's all good. I don't take offense much any longer. But anyhow, so uh, now that I have been thinking about it, to put it concisely, a video game is not just art because it has the ability of visuals or musical or creativity or narrative or emotion or it being designed. Video game is more like it belongs first and foremost to play and system. Like you have you call it gameplay, right? It's a playable mechanism.
Dude,
It's
what
like
is
a
art,
toy
dude?
or
Art is some
sport.
shit. Art is
It's
some
more
shit
like
some
a
other dude. Go ahead. I thought you were done. My bad.
well, Jeremy, it's more like a toy or sport or a puzzle or a
Well,
simulation.
don't respond to what I said. I have my own thing to say after I thought you were done. Are you done or
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
art is just some other shit some dude creates? I don't even remember what I was gonna say. I had some dope shit. I forgot now. I don't know.
It weren't that good.
Nah, it was dope. It was gonna be dope.
So like Mario, Jeremy, it has art assets, but Mario itself isn't art. It's gameplay.
The whole thing's art. Somebody designed Mario. I mean, they put those pixels together. What's the difference if I put pixels together in a certain color or paint or chalk or crayons or magic markers? You know what I'm saying? We're just putting things in different colors together to make something. Of course, Mario's art.
That's just operation.
Somebody designed Mario artistically, very artistically. Mario's dope.
Again, it can have art assets. Doesn't make Mario itself art.
Somebody put colors together and designed Mario just like a painting.
It's a video game, not art. You're making
I know, but it's like a
And the
pen.
music. They designed the music for it. Dun, 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 dun,
That's
dun,
not,
dun.
yeah,
It's
that's dope.
for the game. That's art.
No
That's probably one of the
recursive.
most recognizable sounds in modern history. I would say. I don't know. It's
No,
got to
you're
be in the
pointing.
top 5.
You're pointing out my position. It has art assets. Doesn't make it art.
Mario
it does.
himself is Mario himself is art.
If you just have like a still photo of him being painted, you could say that there's a painting of Mario.
No,
Oh,
on the
yeah, that's art.
screen, you pause the video game, right? And Mario's sitting there. He's standing there still.
No, that's a
That
game on pause.
yeah, you pause the game. That
Yeah,
dude.
you use the playable mechanism, and now the game is on pause. The operation is paused.
Okay,
That's
well,
not
don't
art.
pause it. Don't pause it. Just stand there.
Then
Just
it's a
stand there.
simulation, a playable mechanism still.
Yeah, we know it's a video game.
Yeah, it's a video game.
We know it's a video game. What's the point of telling me it's playable? It's a video game.
Because that means that it's not art.
No, we're arguing that it is art. Well, we already know it's a video game. Obviously, that's like I don't know why you would interject with bring that point forward.
So a video game may contain art, use
That's your
art,
whole argument?
display art.
Is that your
If
whole
you hear
argument?
If you hear it through, a video game may contain art, use art, display art, commission art, and depend on artistic labor. But the video game itself, as such, is not art in its primary category.
See, and this is where I said he's gatekeeping art.
No, I'm gonna post.
No.
Hold on, let me post this. I'm gonna post this thing. Hold on.
I wouldn't go that.
Clarifying
I wouldn't go that far.
Distinguishing things isn't gatekeeping. That's
He's
rather granting gates.
gatekeeping. Is what he's doing. Stop
No,
stop being
it's not.
gay.
It's not
No,
gatekeeping.
look at this.
Gatekeeping
Hold
would be
on,
to
just hold
hide
on
and
with all your. Hold on, CX. Hold on, man.
Okay.
Look at this AI overview right here. This is beautiful. Art
That's
is the
definitely-
conscious. Yeah. Just go on mute, dude. Art is the conscious use of skill and creative imagination to produce aesthetic objects, environments, or experiences. Holy shit. A video game completely fits that description right there. Like perfectly to the T. Dots, I's dotted, T's crossed, everything.
So you think?
So I guess this begs the question, what your standard is, because you mentioned that you hold art to a higher standard. So I think we should maybe touch on that, and maybe also include your own definition of art.
Yes.
Yes.
Give us a definition, dude, because that one I just read was dope. That I didn't
So,
cherry
Jeremy-
pick that. That was just the first one right off the top, bro.
So Jeremy, now right, a video game is an artifact of artifice.
You're just saying words. Post your definition of what art is.
Dude, I'm not saying words. Did you get that from the AI or the Google?
Yeah, I posted my AI definition thing. It perfectly fits
Yeah.
exactly what a video game is. You post yours.
Yeah, great. Now I'm gonna post you an explanation.
Post your definition of
then-
art is what we want to see, really.
I'm gonna post an explanation. You put that into your AI and prompt it back to.
Nah,
whatever
just
you
post your
have.
definition of art, bro. Post your definition of art. I just gave mine. Just post your definition, because I don't know what, like, a video game perfectly fits my definition. So if you're saying it, you must have this different definition of art that I don't know about.
So now, that was not AI, dude. That's a Google AI overview, dude.
Yeah, it's
Go
AI.
into go. Yeah. Okay.
Just post
then
your
after-
definition. That's my definition. Whatever. That's my definition I'm going with. That's how I define art. You define art in your way. Let's hear it.
I'll do it for you. Your definition is an AI overview. Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what I would consider art. That's my definition. When I say art, that's what I mean right there. Me and AI and this other guy. What's this other guy's name?
I think we're rather witnessing.
I think he
your,
left. Did he leave? Hold on. Who was the other guy you were debating with?
No, I'm here.
If anything, we're just witnessing the degradation of your ability to put to words yourself what art is.
Bro, it's pretty clear. Mario's Super Mario. You know, every video game pretty much is art. Someone did it with their creative imagination, so you can have an experience, aesthetics, and the whole thing was to the T a video game.
I just want to see the next dimension of definition of art that he has. Because maybe I'm just completely off base and he's right. 100, like with his definition
not.
is just gonna like blow my mind
It's not
right
gonna blow
now.
your mind. Your mind's not gonna be blown, dude.
Here's my definition of a video game, first and foremost. I think you're gonna love
That's
this.
not what I asked
We
for.
won't
I
even.
asked
We
for your...
probably won't even get one. We probably won't even
We're
get one. But
we're getting to a place where through my definition of video game, you're going to understand that it's not art, and then you're gonna get my definition of art.
it's an artifact of an artifice.
Yeah, and I'm gonna elaborate it a little more, especially for you here. Here you go.
Especially for me. All right.
I've said this sentence like in 6 or 7 different ways now.
So you're saying one can't even interpret a video game as art?
You certainly can interpret it, but your personal opinion doesn't make it art.
So whose opinion is this, that it's not art, but it's an artificial play system that may contain, borrow, display, or integrate arts?
Let me ask you this, and it's not evading the point. Do you require reality in order to doubt whether you have reality?
Look,
Or
let
are
me
you?
read. Hold on, Siak. Let me read this shit
Or
real
is that
quick.
an interpretation?
Yeah, all right, great. Let me read this. This is from Merriam-Webster. These are the core components of art. Skill. At its most basic level, art requires 3 elements. Skill, proficiency and technique acquired through experience or study. Definitely takes skill to make a video game. Creative imagination, you definitely need that for a video game. And aesthetic value, the capacity to engage the senses or prompt a response related to beauty, form, and meaning. That's the video game to the T.
Did you read the definition that I gave you?
So, I read it, yeah, but it's still not giving a definition of art. This is saying what a video game is, and it's saying it integrates artistic elements, but in and of itself, it's not art. So you're still not really giving me anything.
Yeah, this is all, I don't know.
You're saying that's
want-
not art, but I'm not going to tell you what art is. It's just not art.
It's an artifact of an orifice.
I told you in the very beginning what art was. Quite elaborated. But you were just dismissing it because you were rather focusing on projecting this idea about gatekeeping. But if I truly were gatekeeping, when I was putting words to it in an elaborate, expanded, and depthful sense, you'd realize that no gatekeeper will actually tell you straight on what something is. They will go the long road and attempt to never come to a point where they disclose anything.
If
So
somebody
you,
draws on an iPad and they paint a picture on an iPad, is that art?
You cut me in while I was making a point, so you put me out of place. I didn't track.
Is it art when you draw a picture on an iPad?
Yes, I'll answer for him.
Obviously, right? So I don't know what we're
This
even
is
talking
stupid.
about here. If you put pixels together in any kind of order, you got art. Look, people just splash paint on the canvases.
I'm still waiting
But
to
now
hear
you're
this.
talking.
Hang
You're
on.
talking
I'm
about.
hang on, Siak. I'm still waiting to hear this higher standard that you have. I was waiting for this, like the guy asked you a bit back, and you said you'd got this higher standard. What is that standard? I'd love to hear that.
So, yeah, we're getting to it. So, Jeremy, don't conflate the act
So no answer.
with the product. No, we're getting there. I'm just answering Jeremy first because he asked me a question before you intervened and then attempted to sound smug when you cut me off.
It's fucking
So,
Yeah,
bullshit.
you smug
oh,
bastard.
okay, dude, just calm down. Don't get so emotionally wound up.
It's British.
So,
Only British people are smug.
so Jeremy,
We're gonna bring Robert in here,
don't
guys. We're gonna bring Robert in here.
Jeremy,
He's gonna take over the whole room with some space news.
I'd rather hear that, to be honest.
What do we got?
He's in the text chat.
Let's hear the space
Jeremy,
news.
He's like
don't
paid
confuse
ass
the
chill
act with
times
the
10.
product.
That guy.
The act of creating art is not the same as the product.
Can we get a topic check? What is the topic? Where are we at this point? I think we're in the weeds that the weeds have. Like we're in the weeds that are in the weeds. The weeds have
We're
weeds.
trying to get to the source of the weeds. We're trying to go beneath underground, from the very roots all the way up to analyze these weeds.
Which Robert though, because that makes a big difference. Like if it's the Jamaican guy, we gotta think of something else.
No, I just mentioned him because I saw him in the text chat.
Does anyone put a question? Does anybody think that it is big tech that is actually ruling the world, and the governments are just being like lobbied, and the governments are just following the big tech? Like
I
how
think the guys running the show already own big tech.
so it is the billionaires running the world. There's no secret cabal to to point to as such, but they do have all of their foundations, and they do have their networking where they can come together and plan what their strategies are for the economic future of the world. And the governments basically have to just bow down to these Elon Musks and these Bill Gates.
Well, remember who owns these companies in the boardroom. It's generally 3 companies with one at the top, BlackRock and Blackstone, and at the top is Vanguard. So with
Like
those 3 holding
State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock.
Oh, State Street, yes. So with them holding major shares in the boardroom, I guess that's what really matters.
I did post a video about it. Not sure, like maybe half an hour ago. I'll post it again. It's pretty clear. Like this video points out that it is the big companies that are ruling this place.
I mean, dude, they're doing stuff, but like I feel like there's people on top of them that are actually the people. Like I feel like we'll never see the actual real people that are running the show.
Yeah, they're going to be hiding in the shadows for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like they don't want heads to know who they are and shit. They'll never get. They got shit in like shell companies and offshore accounts, and you know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like they got shit in lawyers' names and shit, trust funds. Like I just feel like we'll never know who they actually are. Caves full of gold and diamonds. You know what I'm saying? Like they're smart about it. They're not like they don't want to be on any lists and shit.
That's right. And one way to control people is by their purse strings or their wallet.
The feds don't even know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like that's perfect. If you're like this evil,
it's even worse, Jeremy. They do, but you pay them so well they don't look.
What's up?
They
Who's
do
not
know who
looking?
you are. It's just you pay them so well to look the other way.
No, we don't know who they are.
Yeah, we don't know who owns Vanguard. It's a very private company. We know you can look and see who's on the board of directors, but I think it's a lot deeper than just
No, I'm
those board of
saying these
directors.
guys running shit. They got caves full of gold. Shit under shell companies and lawyers' names and trust funds, and it's all split up here and there. Like they don't have everything in one spot. You know what I'm saying? They got a little bit here, a little bit there, money everywhere. You'll never see their face. Everything goes through lawyers and shit. Like they'll never show their face or put their name down on anything. You don't have to.
Yeah, for sure. think it depends too on the personality though, because some of them are just narcissists, right? They can't help but like attention.
It's called the Nerd Reich. The video I just posted. You can get the AI synopsis. Maybe make it a bit faster to understand it.
Sorry, I'm back. Did I miss anything? I had to take my trash out. When I launched that trash bin or trash into the trash bin, I did it so artistically, I think Kobe might have shed a tear.
I've formalized my definition for you guys now of art, so without any gatekeeping. You want it?
Sorry, I missed that. Where did you post your definition?
Oh, I will also post it. 1 second. Posted it right now. Here's my definition of art. Don't forget to quote me.
You guys are still on that?
Art is disciplined form giving whereby reality or a clarified relation to reality is made present for recognition.
You know, there's an art of deception, right?
No. Art is not deception.
There is an art of deception. You can be really, really professional and good at what you're doing, and anything can be an art form.
So my definition again, art is disciplined form giving, whereby
Right.
reality or a clarified relation to reality is made present for recognition.
Right. So in video games, somebody came up with this storyline, right? From their own imagination or inspired from another story, and they brought it to life through this video game. They, with the help of other graphics artists who helped design the characters, and then you have, like I said, music people that had musical talent that they came up, composers came up with this music, pulled it out of nowhere, giving it form as prescribed by your definition, and presented in the form of a video game, and whereby we can recognize it. So I'm still kind of not trying. I'm not really understanding why video games isn't art, even to your own definition.
So you're not talking about art here, you're defining artifice.
I'm sorry?
You're not talking about art. You are talking about artifice or artifice. So when you're making, like the imagination makes artifice possible. The video game, as you say, brought forth by the imagination, is still first an imagined game system.
So the story's brought together. So you have art all the way, strung throughout this storyline, but the storyline as a whole, which encompasses all of these elements, is art as well. So, I'm not. I guess I don't know if we're ever gonna understand each other. I don't know. Just based off what the definition that you had provided, I don't see. So I guess what you're trying to say is that a video game has all of this different art in it, but in and of itself, the video game is not art? Is that?
Dude, when I say reality, I don't mean like a private subjective fantasy, okay? So When you say that it's brought to light by the imagination, this is not enough, because that only proves artifice. Like you are
No, the
mentioning,
idea
like
came from his
yeah, wait,
imaginary
yeah,
subjective.
please listen to what I'm
Okay.
saying. So when you're talking about the idea, the sword, the casino, or the theme park, or some music and all the beautiful stuff, a business logo and whatnot. I mean, all this is brought forth by the imagination. The question is not whether the imagination was involved. The question is whether that made by form or made into form presents reality. And when you're making a subjective reality from the imagination, like World of Warcraft, that is not reality
It's a
itself.
lovely body of art, but we got to switch this up. We got to switch this up though.
No,
This is
reality
gonna
does not mean
hold
private
on, Siak,
subject.
take
Yeah,
5, bro. Just take 5, please.
that usually is the key
Anchovy.
to me winning.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
Siak,
you.
do you want to just kind of resolve that topic? Is there like a last point you want to make on it or something? Kind of conclude it, or
Yeah. The conclusion is quite simple, and that is that art may present subjective experience, but it is judged by its relation to reality, not by the mere fact that someone imagined it. And I think that's the smoking gun for now.
If Zynax won,
All right.
say nay. If Jeremy won, say aye. Aye.
I have responses to that, but I'll just concede and we can move on.
Yeah, we got to switch this up. It's Thursday night, long weekend, 250.
The
About to get
Portugal
it popping.
Croatia game's on.
About to get it
Come
popping.
on,
No
guys.
one. We don't do that, bro. That's games. That's games and circus right there.
Yeah, sometimes I pay for some entertainment though, Jeremy. You know?
That's games and circus. I'm all for paying for entertainment, but that's like classic gladiator Coliseum
I'm
shit. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
and I've got the popcorn out.
Well, I mean, so are you talking about soccer or are they playing shuffleboard? What sport is this?
Yeah, it's soccer.
pickleball. It's a big pickleball tournament worldwide.
Pickleball? You doing arm wrestling / slap boxing?
They slap box with pickles.
It's badminton tour.
Backgammon, professional. Soccer's really not like, I don't know. I mean, teach their own, but soccer doesn't do it for me. I'm more of a basketball guy.
It seems like as
Basketball.
Americans, we're not really like cultured as much to enjoy soccer, but I kind of have always considered soccer a bit boring, but I know other people say that they don't find it boring. Maybe I could find it not boring if I got into it more, but
Yeah,
it's such
I
a
don't
big
know.
field and there's only a
That-
few
The World Cup.
goals, few actual goals. Like hockey,
Yeah.
all these other sports are much faster.
They're
That's what
fist
makes them hype
fighting.
though.
Basketball is the fastest paced sport. It doesn't like it's pretty fast paced. You know what I'm saying? Like basketball is just it's my favorite.
Although I like golf, so I mean,
That's
Oh
that's
boy.
tough. That's tough.
I like
I don't
golf.
really
Yo, I
watch it.
seen
Like,
this crazy
I don't
golf.
watch it these days, really, but
I seen this crazy golf shot in like the PGA Tour where this guy like skipped the ball over the water and like landed it on the green like mad far away. You ever see that one? They says the best golf shot in history.
Out of all the takes you've ever made, Gio, that is the craziest one.
That's crazier than voting for George Bush.
That's the craziest take ever. Soccer's boring, but I watch golf, or I like
Oh,
golf.
that piece.
That is wild.
Pro
The best thing
motocross
in
will be
golf.
on 4th of July.
The best thing
Redbud,
in golf.
most American track.
The best thing in golf is Charles Barkley's golf swing. If anyone has never seen that, you should probably YouTube that immediately. Straight up off the hook. Charles Barkley's nuts.
Is it better than Trump's?
Yo, it's off the chain. This guy is playing basketball as he's teeing off. It's crazy.
he stops in the middle of his downswing.
He
He
pump
literally
fakes.
stops. He
He's
pump
like-
fakes. Yeah, it's really weird.
It's wild, bro.
He has like a hiccup in his swing. Charles Barkley. It's such a strange thing.
I heard he
pulls
was
back.
fine.
He pulls back. He starts coming down to hit it, and then he just stops, pauses, goes back a little more, and then swings through the ball. It's really bizarre.
Does
He
he
got,
do this
like-
for every hit or just that hit?
He
Yeah.
got like a stutter. He like stutters when he's. Oh, it's wild. I heard he was fine until he took golf lessons.
Yeah.
Somebody's got the kid. Moto.
Yeah, my kid is pointing at the picture saying that's me and Dada. Sorry about that. But yeah, motocross is the most American and the best sport. And it'll be on 4th of July, Redbud, 10 Eastern time. And you'll see a wild crowd with chainsaws and beer going nuts.
Racing ain't really I don't really consider racing like a sport.
Why?
Like a race, like a foot race, a car race, anything. Go-kart racing. It's not really like a sport in my mind.
What about NASCAR?
No. You're just like racing. You know, that's it. You know what I'm saying?
I consider almost every racing form other than motocross like
So
almost
Mario
a different
Kart.
league.
Mario Kart's a sport.
Yeah, motorsport.
Yeah, it probably is. All these video games are like sports now.
Uh,
They're like for like Street Fighter. They have like
Is
entire
racing-
like leagues and tournaments and
Esports.
stuff.
I'm just saying, like a race doesn't feel like real sporty to me.
Any kind of race, like physics, like bicycle race.
What?
Can somebody repeat that, please? You roboted.
Wesley, try again.
No, he
Your
might be in a
connection's
bad
getting
spot.
caught up by Coriolis right now.
The ether.
Moto is the hardest sport in the world, Jeremy.
It's not I mean, you keep saying it's a sport, but
All right, so it's the hardest single player game in the world.
have you ever tried to hit the shortcut on the rainbow track in Super Mario Kart?
Oh, the rainbow
That's
track's
tough.
impossible. I can't
That's
even.
tough.
I don't even like playing it. I skip it.
I would say those racing things are sports. I mean, that's a competition. You're trying to win. Maybe you're not like physically exerting yourself. Although motocross, you are physically exerting yourself. You got to stay on that bike and you got to have strong arms and stuff. It's pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
it's
full
so
on, dude.
close to not being a sport, though. It's like right on the edge, even if it was.
Yeah, but
Jeremy, they
definitely like
don't
foot
operate off a
racing.
point system. You could get third
No,
all year and then be first in the series and win because there's a point system. So it's very much a sport.
I want to say it's a
Yeah.
sport because you can hurt yourself really badly.
Yeah.
Anything you can hurt yourself really badly feels like a sport.
Nah.
Oh,
So is it like a skate competition a sport, Jeremy?
Is it what?
Is a skate competition a sport?
No race. I feel like races aren't sports. Just
How about
racing.
fishing? How about fishing? Fishing competition.
No,
Sport?
that's not.
That's kind of
No,
messed up.
that's
Putting
not a sport.
hiding a hook in food, that's pretty twisted.
No,
Oh, we
that's
gotta eat.
fine, but yeah, that's fine, but just that's
It's
not
fine?
like sport. Yeah, it's not like a sport though. It's not fine considering that a sport. I know people do too.
I mean, how are you going to say that running's not a sport? Like someone running hurdles or something like that?
Just
Or
running. You're just racing to the end.
yeah, and you have to be extremely athletic to do it.
I no doubt.
Prom is a
I hear
sport.
you.
What about
You remember
breakdancing?
Jeremy?
They have
What about-
breakdancing at the Olympics.
What about pole vaulting? Jumping over something.
Yeah, that's a sport.
That's now that is something. That's definitely something.
You guys remember when those high school kids ran a draft for prom and got in a bunch of trouble years ago? So
Like
prom's a sport.
the high jump, the pole vault, The one where you skip, hop, and jump. Those are sports, I guess.
What do you think about poker? Some people say poker is a sport.
No,
Ooh, that's
no, that's not a sport to me.
well, I'm looking up one of the definitions of sport here is physical activity engaged in for pleasure. A particular activity such as an athletic game so engaged in. So, I mean,
Poker's
if you're going to just go
physical.
with a physical activity engaged for pleasure, and probably competition is in here somewhere.
Poker's
Sport.
physical. You got to lift the cards, throw your chips in.
Dude, can I ask something random about poker? Because it's been coming up in my feed lately, even though I'm not really that into poker. But I think like when I start saying don't recommend me things, like it probably just brings in some other topic. And I don't know, maybe Rakia mentioned poker and then some on here, and somehow they brought it through.
They're always listening. They're always listening.
Yeah, somehow. But because whenever I see it, I think of Rakia. Whenever I see the poker, but can I just ask a random question? When they do when you know when you check in poker and you tap the table,
yeah.
How do they know? Like, you could just be tapping your finger randomly.
No,
you know, like
I used to be a dealer.
How do they know like you are checking? Because what if you're just tapping and they think you checked and you didn't?
No, I used to
The
be a
etiquette
dealer.
of the game.
Yeah, I used to be a dealer for my boys. They'd play every Sunday, and we'd smoke blunts and drink beers, and I would just deal for them. And it's clear. It's pretty clear. If you just tapping a table, you fucked up. Then if that's you just happen to tap the table when it's your turn, like you fucked up.
Yeah, you have all the time in the world to tap when it's not your turn. Just don't be doing it when it's your turn.
So when it's your turn, it's just like the
The
dealer's
dealer's
kinda
looking at you. Yeah,
They
the
get a
dealer's
Yeah.
they're looking at you. Yeah. So if you tap on a table when I'm looking at you, like that's your signal you've checked.
I know. I've just seen some that do a very light tap, and I'm thinking, you know, what if they didn't really mean to check or whatever? They didn't.
No.
You know.
That is the funniest question that you could have possibly asked. Like I thought you were going to ask something like serious because poker is a complicated game, and it's just how do they know that they checked?
I know. Sorry. Well, just some of it I see that they just do such a light little tap, and I just think like, or even in a casino too, when you're, you know, like you're playing blackjack or whatever, and you have to either stay, and you just do a little hand swipe, you know. I mean, what is the worst thing? They think that you said stay and you didn't, and then you just have to say, wait, I didn't stay, because I mean, you're not asking for.
Yeah, but if the next turn, if the next or you should understand
Anchovy or robot.
the first place.
You roboted a little bit through that. A lot of it. Bro, if you check when I was dealing, this wasn't a casino or anything. This was just at the pool table with my boys. But like if I looked at you, I'd do it audibly too. Like if you said check, I'm going to the next guy. You do the tap or the check, next guy, that's it. There's no like turn. I never had an issue. I probably dealt for about 5 years every Sunday. Never had an issue with that at all ever. Not once.
Yeah, I still play poker with the boys sometimes.
There is a thing sometimes that people will do, Gio, is they will make it look like they're taking an action that they're not taking to like gain some sort of advantage. So they'll pretend like they called, but they won't actually call because they won't put their chips across the line to like essentially screw their opponent out of the bet or see what the reaction is or whatever.
Yeah, like a fake out.
Have you guys seen master dealers where they could do? There was this one guy who did a video. It was like 10 different levels of dealing, and he gets more complex as he deals, and he shows how you can actually manipulate the cards. Pretty cool.
Yeah, but when you're in the casino though, or like somebody like me when I was dealing, like they don't care. It doesn't matter who wins. Like it doesn't even matter. So they have like no incentive. Like the casino's going to get a certain amount of money no matter what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Like they rake the pot. So like, I don't know what it is, 10%, 5%. So you have $100 pot, the casino's getting $5. And that shit happens in like minutes. So they're like raking it in, and they have no like incentive for anything to It doesn't matter what happens on that table.
Here's my other very remedial kind of competition poker question. Why do they go all in? I mean, I get the all in thing, but why would you just blow your whole thing in one all in when it's like
Because
so
you
like
think you got the
statistic based?
hand. Because you think you have the stat. You think you got the nuts.
It's a balls
But
move,
if you're
Gio.
playing a bunch of hands where you're like, all right, like these guys that are, there's like $1 million pot, so they bet 50,000 and then they bet 20,000, and they're doing these little bets. Why? Like, is it just that they've been going for hours and eventually it's like, all right, I'm
Well,
all in.
when
Like, just
with a with a $1 million thing in a turn, that's like tournament style. So you have to do a blind every time it goes around the table and around, and it keeps going around in a circle. And you have a big blind and little blind, and it'll be like $20. Like, say you get in the tournament and you got $1,000 worth of chips, and the big blind is 20 and the small blind's 10. So every time it comes around, you got to do 10 when you're the small blind, and then 20 when you're the big, and then 10 when you're the small. And then once that goes around enough times, they'll raise it. They'll be like, all right, an hour's went by or something. We're raising it to 2040 or something. They'll double it or whatever. Eventually, you won't have money left, and you have to you just have like a decent hand, and you're like, all right, I got to go all in because this is probably going to be my last shot or whatever. Or
So
people do it because they think they have the best hand and they want to win the thing. There's a lot of reasons for going all in. You
yeah,
want to
one of
bluff.
the
Or
You
you
might
just
be
try to
bluffing.
steal the pot.
yeah
Yeah,
one of the
you might be straight up bluffing.
One of the more nuanced answers, Gio, is that like a big part of poker is math and pot odds, right? So as the pot grows, you adjust your bet so that the player you're betting against has the proper pot odds, right? So if they're on a draw, for instance, they have a certain percentage chance in their
You got to
mind
make them
of
pay
winning.
for it.
Well, they have a certain percentage in their mind of winning, right? And if you go over that percentage in their mind that they have of winning, they will not call you. If you go under it, they're more likely to call you. And so you adjust your bet if you want them to say call or fold. And maybe like if you go all in, it's usually considered polarizing, which is saying either you have the nuts or the most likely best hand, or you're just completely bluffing and full of shit because you're trying to make their pot odds hard to call.
Yeah, there's a point on the table where like you flip 3 cards and you have your 2 cards. So you might be like, all right, I have the best possible thing right now, but there's 2 hearts on the board or something. So if another heart comes out, it'll screw me. I got to make this guy. It's called making him pay for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to let you see these next cards for free. I need to make sure that I win this hand right now, or you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of reasons to go all in. Like I said, you could be getting blinded out of a tournament style, or you could just think you have the nuts and the best hand, or you're bluffing. These guys are risk takers. You know what I'm saying? This is gambling. There's stats and probabilities and shit, but it's a gamble when it comes down to it. So that shit was fun, dude. I used to deal. These guys used to tip me. I'd probably make like $100 a night every time I did that shit. People used to get mad. I'd fold them. I'd fold them. If you weren't at the table, you're over in the living room doing a bong rip, or you're fucking went to take a shit or whatever. Like if you went to the kitchen to get food, like if you're not at the table, I fold you. And people would get so mad when I folded them. You gotta be there. I don't know what to tell you. You can't stop the whole fucking game.
You know what people hate? They would hate when I would roll up to a blackjack table and start doing really well, and they'd start talking about the shoe, how I messed up the shoe, and how like I was getting their cards, and I'd be like, before I even rolled up with a lot of them, I'd be like, all right, man, is anybody gonna get pissed off when I start winning? Talking about the shoe, I'd have to talk about it, because I did really good in Atlantic City. I don't know why. I had some people convinced that I had a magic bullet in my back, and but dude, people get so bent sometimes when I'd start doing good. They'd be like, "Those are my cards," you know. They're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, really? Those are your cards?" I guess, whatever.
Don't gamble on the globe, people.
You said don't do blow?
Don't gamble on the globe.
Don't gamble on the globe? I used to be
Yeah.
big into gambling. We would do horse races at OTB, and oh man, I was shooting a CeeLo before class in high school, before school started on the weekends. We'd be shooting CeeLo cards. We did a lot of poker, different pokers, different types of poker. We'd flip a coin. We'd pitch
You
a
seen
coin.
those? You seen those new prediction markets? All
Yeah,
the sports bettors are using them.
yeah.
They're all through Coinbase, dude. Like all kinds of shit. Silly, man.
No,
Like
everyone.
you,
Coinbase has it. Robinhood has it. Kalshi has it. Poly Markets has it.
really?
There may
Holy
be
shit.
a couple other spots I don't know about, but
Did you see the one
I
where
see some
they were?
regulations coming.
Did you see the one where they were betting on weather somewhere, and then the
and the
guy
guy,
found?
yeah, he took the heater, the blow dryer, or a heat gun or something,
Wait,
and went
what
up to the
happened?
thing. He
He
went.
was
He
voting on or predicting weather, and then what happened?
Yeah, you say you
What?
get great if you're like, yo, I think they have like all different temperatures. Will the temperature be over 77? Will it be over 80? Will it be over 83? You start to get really good odds the farther out you go from the norm or whatever's predicted or whatever. So some guy got really good odds. He was like, yeah, it's going to be over 83 degrees or some shit. Right? He got really good odds. Went to the fucking place with like a heat gun or a blow dryer or something and just put it on the place that measures the temperature for like the area or whatever house you
Yeah,
use to get the
he
temperature.
found the sensor that Polymarket was using, right, to determine like as their official sensor of whether Dallas or whatever city it was reaching said temperature, and then he broke into it and brought a blow dryer to it and just raised the temperature and won like $40,000.
Oh,
Yo,
really?
the
Where did
best
he
one,
find? That's weird. That's funny.
But they busted him.
the
They busted
best
him.
one. Hold on, man. The best one. I don't know. Did they get him or not? Because I got a great one after this.
Good.
Yeah, they got him.
They got him. All right. The best one was the guy went to Vegas or something, and you could bet money on if there would be a streaker for the Super Bowl or something. Put like 100 G's on it. Went to the Super Bowl, streaked, and won the bet. He was the streaker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
there was
always
a similar.
wondered with those. Yeah, go ahead.
There was a similar thing where like you could bet on like what color dildo someone would throw on the floor at a WNBA game, and then they were just throwing those colored dildos on the floor.
Oh, that's a wild one
What
right there.
the?
Wow.
Yeah. Like, well, how
That's
can you
off the
get
hook.
away with the streaking one though? Like, that's you
No,
can't.
he got a fine and did jail time and shit, but
Oh.
there was a streaker. There was a streaker, dude. If there's a
No,
streaker, you
now
get the
it's what I
money.
bet. But dude, what if they find out you bet and then you are the streaker? That's not freaking legit.
You can't do nothing. You bet you're betting on if there's gonna be a
That's
streaker,
fun.
whether it's you or not. Yeah, this is totally
Dude,
fine.
that's like betting that a bank's gonna get robbed and then you're the bank robber.
I
Yeah,
mean, if you're willing to do the time for it,
it's it's
you going
really it's really controversial. I think it's like Anchovy said, is there's going to be legislation coming down the pike for sure on this because like you can even bet on like whether or not politicians will say certain things in their speeches, and like it's been like suspected that a lot of especially like lower tier politicians are making bets on themselves and saying stuff that they're betting
an
against.
NBA player just got caught. I think he pled not guilty, but they said it's wildly suspicious with his prop bets and shit, but a couple NBA players maybe. Because you could throw those, you know what I'm saying? You could throw those stats. Do I want to get 7 rebounds or not? Like you can make that happen easy.
Well, people have been saying that. I'm pretty sure that's been happening for years and years. People have claimed.
It's so easy now though. You can't I don't know how those guys even get caught. Like you did it in your name? That's fucking wild. I don't know.
Yeah, they do it with people too close to them, probably.
I don't know. I don't know how you would ever get caught doing it. Yeah, no, it's heavy under suspicion now because people are people are going into like loading up a Kalshi account, brand new account, and then betting on something Trump's going to say and just hitting a banger. You know what I'm saying? That's like wild suspicious. Like you didn't do no bets on anything else. You just came in and hit a banger on us. Like
Still on that idea of this parent-child relationship with, you know, like even if we use the word source, like even if you and I would agree on that word for the moment, like that there's a source, I would call it, you know, what I refer to it in terms of just like it's like the motherboard of the whole thing. It would be like the base level, that omnipotent, omniscient, etc. And whether you would see it in a slightly different way, but either way, if we just say there is a source that's like beyond our, you know, beyond our human body and beyond even what we would call our soul, like it's beyond everything that we seem aware of, it would have to be, unless, you know. Now, but one view, like let's just polarize these two views and then which one is the truth, let's say. And I'm not even trying to necessarily debate it, but just, okay, one of them is that source is like your father and he made you to obey him in some way or to go along with some kind of idea that he had in mind.
Yeah.
Or perhaps there's the idea that we created, like that we are that source and we created the moral laws and all that. And then we also created ourselves to then kind of buck up against it and then learn and grow and kind of evolve spiritually. And then wherever that leads, I guess we'll all find out. But that one's more like coming to like, almost like a self-exploration or like, you know, exploring your soul kind of more idea, maybe like more of the mystical experiences route. It could go that way, but either way, more that it's just like a learning process and growing and like, yeah, coming to more love and more, you know, understanding and helping others, all that good stuff. And then however that all leads spiritually, like some traditions have the idea that we like transcend eventually. And there's like some, you know, highly like, you know, that kind of experience. But I'm just sort of saying like, okay, the parent-child one where the God would want you to obey, and then there's these certain things you have to abide by, and if you don't do them, you might even get like eliminated or you might not make it in or whatever. And then there's like the hell thing too. But I'm saying like if you're saying that one's the case, like, I mean, however you want to respond, but like how what have you come to that has made you be like, this really is the case? You know, that's compelling. Yeah.
This is a little bit complex though. I'll try to
It could be your own experience too, but yeah, go ahead.
So there's an argument called the teleological argument. And theological, basically, when you break it down from Greek, means there's like an end goal, there's an end purpose, there's a motivation, right? So
yeah, I love that word. It's a beautiful word.
And this is where science and theology meet, and actually we agree. You know, between science and theologians, philosophers agree that creation had a beginning, the universe had a beginning, right? And before you can have the material world, right? The material world manifested from the metaphysical, right? Matter manifested from the immaterial, metaphysical. It requires, it requires this. There's necessary precondition, right? That need to be in place before matter could even exist, before the world could even.
But like for lack of a better term, like there's a metaphysical world that essentially like supersedes this world. Like it's
exactly.
Yeah.
That's a stillman. What I'm trying to say. Yeah. So, with that being said, when we look at reality, or when we look at the body, or when we look at the self, at every scale, right? There's irreducible complexity, which is part of the teleological argument. It's one of the branches of the teleological argument. Is irreducible complexity. That's one that Taylor likes to point to. That's one that I like to point to, because within the human body, or even the most primordial cells, like an amoeba or protozoa, there are core parts of that protozoa that are irreducibly complex. That means that if reality has a beginning, if those cells have a beginning, human beings have a beginning, then whatever created us with intention, right? So everything that was created with intent, for a good reason, for a purpose, right? Intent requires intention. Intention requires a mind, right? And that mind, right? When he created us with forethought in mind, right? Like motivation, an end goal, right? So when he created the human being, right, or the cell, the most simple cells. They're intricately put together, right? And they have to be. There's core parts within that cell that are indispensable. That cell could not exist nor survive without those core parts being intricately put together. We're talking about thousands of core parts, right? Hundreds of thousands of core parts that are harmoniously working together. That could only have existed if something with forethought, foreknowledge, put it together intricately and sparked it. That could only happen with the mind, conscious thought. Go ahead.
All right. No, yeah, no, I hear you on that, on all that. I mean, because I actually think that what we are is like light, sound, and vibration that we're putting that light and sound and vibration into motion in some way to like create matter and electrostatics and just frequency, everything that we experience. That's getting into more like the metaphysical nature of like how, as well. Well, I was just trying to hone in on that. Okay, so I'll just say this from my viewpoint, and I'm not trying to say this to even like necessarily even debate it or say someone's right, someone's wrong. I'm just saying in general, like in my whole spiritual viewpoint, like I don't think that I'm in like a parent-child relationship with that source, if we just use the word source. So I don't feel like that's the case. And then I'm interested that you feel like I'm interested right now in the conversation in terms of asking like, and I know that, in terms of the biblical, there is that idea that there's the Father and then the Son and then some of the ways that it's like portrayed as, that the Abrahamic God essentially and how that's described. But I'm just saying for myself, like, and again, this is not to try to debate it and say like who's right or wrong. I'm just saying that I don't feel like I'm in a relationship. Well, I'm in a relationship with myself on a very deep level though, like, and with the whole consciousness as well, and with everything. I'm not saying I don't have, and I do have like in a way, like a relationship to that source in terms of like love and appreciation and beauty and a lot of things. So, I mean, I do have like in a way, but it's not, okay, I guess what it's not is it's not like a parent-child type relationship. That's what I'm trying to kind of say. Like for me, it's not like there's a lot of relational components to it, but for me, it's not really parent-child. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're saying that the God is parent-child, like what have you gleaned? I know there's like the writings that say that, but like what have you been able to isolate that is the case? And then what do you think about for others who don't experience it that way?
Yeah, I'm not actually surprised because there's maturity that has to take place of the soul. Like there's a spiritual growth that has to take place before you can even become an adopted son of God, right? There has to be a regeneration of the soul, right? And because this is why it gets a little complicated, because Adam was considered a son of God because he was a direct creation of God, like the angels are considered sons of God, B'nai Ha-Elohim. But we are considered sons of man, sons of Adam in the scriptures, ontological sons of man, right? But we have this potential to be sons of God through adoption, right? But before you can become adopted, there has to be a spiritual growth, a regeneration of the soul, where you're actually receiving part of the divine spark, where you're given like this Holy Spirit, where you repent, right? And you confront the Creator, and then he can restore you, and then you will be adopted. That's what it means to be chosen. Like people abuse what it means to be the chosen people, and they say the Jews are the chosen people. That's nowhere to be found in the Bible. It actually states that there are the chosen ones, which include everybody who confesses their sins and believes in Jesus Christ. This is a scriptural doctrine, right? And then we are adopted as sons of God proleptically, right? That one day, and when we die and we are resurrected, we will actually then be sons of God. Right now, you're not actually. Right now, you're not actually a son of God. You're a son of man.
How you invoke? What are you doing? Like imposing like a requirement for maturation in order to people to come into this wisdom, right? And then at the same time, it's infantilizing, like to become. Oh, now you got to know that, like you got to grow up to become a child of God, essentially, which is it's a conundrum or a contradiction.
You have to. No, because there's remember we were talking about repentance and forgiveness. There has to be repentance and forgiveness for that God can fully restore you to your potential, right? To your full
Who's forgiving
spiritual
what?
potential.
I got to forgive him, or he's got to forgive me?
No. You have to repent so that he can forgive you, so that you can be reconciled back to God through Christ, so that you can reach your full spiritual potential as a son of God. Right now, though, right, you're not a son of God. That's why in the Bible it says there are those who are sons of the devil, right, and they do his will. And then there are some that are sons of God, but
anything
it's
that's
through,
not of God is of the
but
devil in your interpretation.
it's
So, and then you impose it upon people despite the fact that they don't have the same worldview, which is
bro.
just like a
Okay,
double.
bro. Listen, you don't have to be convinced by this, but this is the reality in my paradigm. This is the reality, dude. Right? And in
Yeah,
order
just
to
something
be
to consider.
in order to be considered a son of God, B'nai Elohim, there has to be a spiritual restoration and regeneration that has to occur. That's why John the Baptist encouraged people to repent and seek the kingdom. Right?
Hey, Lion.
Repent so that you can be restored. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I hear you on that, and that is yeah, that's a whole, that there's a certain beauty to that. But let me ask you this, like, how do you contrast that, like that exact thing you just said, with, let's say, an idea where our souls are here, like we're learning lessons, and perhaps a reincarnation could be brought in, but we could also just leave that to the side, but where you have many chances and you're going, you're going through it all. And then as you like learn and grow and basically like advance your soul in that idea, let's say, you get closer and closer to, one's godly nature, let's say, or that ultimate, as you become a better and better person. Like you don't get there through like being a criminal and hurting people, and you're not going to get to any kind of transcendence or any type of like advancement that way. That in order to like, but more just the idea that like your soul is just advancing, and as you continue to like learn more and more things, you like evolve and become more essentially closer to the whole or closer to the source, etc. And maybe
Yeah.
even at some point becoming the source again. Like you've actually you went on the hero's journey and you returned all the way back to that omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. Now, I know you're probably aware of like some different traditions that may have components of what I'm saying, but and we could or could not kind of go back and forth on that. But I'm more just kind of asking like, how do you contrast and compare? Because there's similarities there in a way. Both of them do
I
have you
agree.
kind of transcending, but they're different ideas though, a little bit different pathways potentially.
The prodigal son is a very good example of that, where
Yeah.
the goal is to be restored back to the source, right? To be one with the source. Right now we're distant. We're actually distant from the source.
Yeah.
And this is the hero's journey, a fractal pattern of the hero's journey, like you're talking about.
Yeah, Gio, do you know the parable of the prodigal son? It's an incredible story.
Yeah. I studied that in my grad school.
Oh wow, nice. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But to be unified with the creator isn't to become the creator, because there will always be this eternal distinction between the creator and us, but yet we will be unified like a family, right? Echad.
Okay, so with that, now I've talked because we've talked about that with like in some of the more biblical traditions, they refer to the idea that you're essentially like there's a God that's separate from you and it will always be separate. And we've talked about that. And then if you get to like the completion, like let's say in that model, like you did obey everything, you did everything right, you totally got through, and then now you're in the fully resurrected, that whole state with God. Now, let's say you're there and you're like this close to God, like you're right there, or however you would see that. I don't know. It means you're like you're hanging out with him, you're talking to him, you're near him, you see him. I don't know. Like you'd have to describe what you think that is. But let's say you're there with him. Now, if you've gotten all the way to that point, how do you know that there isn't another step where you would get all the way back to that source? Like, how do you know that you'd always be separate from it?
Well, there's logical deductions regarding this. Like, in order to preserve logic itself, the law of identity, you have to keep distinction between object A and object B, right? Like the letter A and the letter B, or P and Q. There has to be separations, eternal distinction. Otherwise, everything would be, logic itself, knowledge itself would collapse in on itself. It wouldn't be accessible, or wouldn't be absolute.
Was Jesus a man lion?
Yes.
you said before that all men are fallible, but yet we have this Jesus character who is a man who was considered to be infallible. So your category stuff is.
Wait,
No,
Glad you
no, no.
mentioned it.
not born of. He wasn't born of
Yeah, yeah.
man. Was he?
All men. Yeah, all men that
Doesn't
are.
matter. He was a
Yeah.
man. You called him a man. You've
No.
defined him,
Yeah, but
categorized him as a man, and you said before that all men are fallible, and this man is an infallible man, so he can't be a man. So he's he's
Dude,
defying the laws of
bro.
identity according to you.
No, because he was fully God and fully man, dude.
That's the category error.
No, it's not a category ever.
You
It's
can't.
the
You
difference.
can't.
It's the difference
Come on.
between universals and particulars, bro. Like you can have groceries, right? And then within the groceries, you also have milk and bread. Though,
Yeah.
you know, milk and bread are distinct, right? They're still groceries.
You can't be an apple and a banana. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. You're talking about the particular, right? When the universal God, right? The universal God, right, is made up of more than one person. It's the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now, God the Son came down as a man, yet he's still God and a man. He took on the form of a man. That's not a
You said
limitation.
all men are fallible, Lion. Come on, bro. Stop
Right.
like, dude, I've got no problem with you like talking about this stuff. It's just the contradiction and then your absolute denial of the contradiction.
All men with the exception of God. All men with the exception of God taking on the form of a man.
Jesus sits to the right hand side of God, man.
Yeah, but I think the difference is, remember, we came from Adam, whereas Jesus, he wasn't born of that lineage, I suppose, right?
Then he's not a man. He's either a man or he's not a man, guys. Come on.
No, dude, you're putting a limitation on God when that's not a limitation. That's actually, again, that's a perfection of his expression, dude. And the fact
I'm
that
not
he
limiting
could come,
God, bro.
Yes, you are. The fact that God could come down as a man, right, and live a tabernacle amongst men isn't a limitation, dude.
Then
It's
he's not
a
a man.
perfection of his
Stop calling
expression.
Jesus a man.
Dude,
I don't understand why you got a problem with me saying he's not a man based on your categorization and your law of identity that you defy all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't violate the law of identity. I'm trying to explain it to you. You're being stubborn, dude.
You're being contradicting.
Now, this is why, he wasn't. The thing is, even Jesus Christ was born of a virgin, and actually, logic itself necessitated that he was born of a virgin, because the and actually, logic itself necessitated that he was born of a virgin, because the reason that we all inherit the malignity of the root is because Adam sinned. And the malignity of the root is passed down through the male, through the Y chromosome. Jesus Christ inherited his father's Y chromosome, and then he inherited his mother Miriam's mitochondrial chromosomes. And that's why he wasn't like this. He wasn't fully man like you would think, right? He wasn't like, he didn't have the same chromosomes as we do.
Man, like, even if you say like he looked like a man, he talked like a man, that's all fine, but he's not a man. Okay, he could be in the like God in the morphology of a man, but he's not a man.
But you understand, he was born of a virgin miraculously, so he didn't inherit any of the earthly men's DNA.
Yeah, so what, he lacked a Y chromosome, or what do you reckon?
The scriptures necessitated that the Messiah had to be born of a virgin. Now they wondered why does that have to be the case? I'm trying to explain why that's the case, because of the origin of sin. Paul outlines this in Romans. It necessitated that the Messiah was born perfect, without blemish, without wrinkle, without stain, right? Without any imperfection. So he was born perfect, unlike we, right, that are born corrupted from the start because of Adam, right? So he actually,
what do you mean? Like he never grew up or something?
What's it called? No. He circumvented the doctrine of original sin by being born of a virgin. He circumvented the doctrine of original.
Did he poop?
Yes. Yeah, he ate, pooped, and pissed. That's not a sin. That's not a sin.
Well, he definitely didn't have children, so that's another thing that men do.
It's a lot, bro. I don't expect
this
you to
one didn't.
understand, bro. But I'm stop acting like I'm incoherent, dog. It's not incoherent.
Dude, you cry on about the law of identity and then basically believe in something that, in my interpretation at least, and you don't have to comport with this, that you're contradicting your own law of identity.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you. It's
And
not a
this is like this
contradiction.
leap of
Go,
faith that you guys do.
no, it's not a contradiction. People say there's something about the Trinity. They say the Trinity violates the law of identity. It does not violate the law of identity. If it did, it would be logical, right? And that's why
It's because
you gotta
God can do
understand.
anything, apparently, right, man?
You
Can
got
you
you
can just
gotta
like
understand,
insert the God character.
bro. You gotta understand the one and the many problem, and you gotta understand how you can have unity within multiplicity, or particulars within universal. It's not. It's not. It doesn't. Particulars within universals or unity within multiplicity does not violate the law of identity. You for whatever reason you think it does. Look it up, dude. Unity within multiplicity or particulars within universals. So God is a complex unity. It doesn't violate the law of identity. For example,
Do you
I'll give
feel
you
like you've met this guy? I know it's funny to say this guy. I'm saying it in a silly way, but have you met God? Do you feel? Like, have you met him?
real quick before I get into that, I just want to say I'll give you an
All right.
example, right? The United
How you
States of
doing, Gio?
America, the United States of America, conceptually, right? You can consider it an entity, right? Or even a school of fish, you can consider it one entity, right? It's working together. You got people go to work, right? It's metropolis, right? But yeah, it's made up of individuals, right? So right there you have unity within multiplicity. The entity being the United States of America, being that one entity, but yet it's made up of multiple individuals with different occupations, different ranks, right? Magistrates, judges, governors, yet it's all one entity, the United States of America. None of that violates the law of identity. None of that violates logic. But anyways, I was gonna say, oh yeah, so you asking me if I met God. That's a tough one, dude. But I have to say yes, I've met the Son, God, which I believe is God.
Wait, the Son, not the God, but just the Son. You mean, or the God?
I still consider Jesus Christ God. So, and I believe He did manifest Himself to me, like He promised He would in the scriptures. In 2020, at the end of 2019, at the beginning of 2020.
Yeah. Well, some people do have visions of Jesus. Yeah. Also, like of like Shiva and like other gods from like the Hindu and stuff. What would you say if someone had like I've heard people that have experiences with Shiva where they're going through like a death rebirth process and they're like in the process of like facing their traumas and like dying and all of that stuff. Like Shiva, like because Shiva's like the destroyer, like the creator and the destroyer of worlds. Like in the well, I mean it's in Hinduism, but it's in Shiva is actually well, nonetheless. All right, let's just go with that characterization, even though I think it's actually like a transcendental being. It's not actually necessarily just that characterization of it only from Hinduism. And it's in other traditions as well, though. And it goes back to like the Vedas. But anyways, like that like, whether you want to call it an archetype or a being, but people have had like visions and experiences where they like literally meet this being, like they say they're like meeting Shiva. And then there can be different things that happen. But in like the dancing Shiva, you can see him like stepping on it's like he's like stepping on like a little like animal, and it's like basically like stomping on ignorance. But anyways, people have had experiences of like a death rebirth experience where Shiva is like stomping on them, and then they like bust apart, and like in the disassembling or the kind of dismemberment, and then they come back together in this like much higher like healed form. So it's like a really dramatic near death experience, or not near death, but like ego death experience that some people have described. Now, if somebody experienced that and they said that Shiva came to them and did this whole death rebirth thing, or if someone had experience of Jesus where they feel like he came and like either communicated or healed, like how do you categorize those experiences? Like, are they, is the guy who experienced Shiva just as valid as the one who experienced Jesus, or is one over the other? I mean, I don't think Shiva is claiming to be a god necessarily. Well, it's a god, but not necessarily the god.
Yeah, I don't discount those experiences. there's a word for it. I can't think of it right now, but the Bible allows for multiple gods, right? It's contrary to popular belief. There is polytheism in the Old Testament, even in the New Testament, right? Where he says, do not worship any other gods besides me. And there's other principalities that have dominion in the world, like actual gods, supernatural beings. But they're just not the ultimate supreme God of the universe. They're demigods, right? Like Zeus, Poseidon, Shiva, Odin, Thor. None of these other gods claim to be the supreme deity of the universe. They just happen to be divine.
Yeah, or they're
Or
like
not.
archetypal beings. There's some kind of divine beings. Yeah, because when you look at the whole range of experiences that people have, like including like lucid dreaming, meditation, spontaneous, meaning it just happens like in their waking state, or obviously like consuming plants or like doing the breathing techniques and all these different things, like the whole range of experiences. Well, so you had one where you feel like you met Jesus, but did it somehow communicate to you that it had created everything in some way, or was that part of the experience?
No. I didn't see him. I heard him audibly. He spoke to me at a time in my life where I was going through a spiritual regeneration, like I was speaking. Which honestly, I long to go back to that state, that sanctified state, because I'm actually kind of falling off of that. But so at a time where I was spiritually sanctifying myself, setting myself apart from the world, seeking Him with all my heart and all my soul and all my being, I was being tried. Where I was going, and I'm not, just to keep the story short, I was going through the demonic attacks on a regular basis. I got night sleep terrors, sleep paralysis, nightmares, a lot of stuff going on in my life. And I remember I encountered what I believe was a demonic entity one night. Very crazy experience. I don't want to tell it right now, but basically I came out of that, and then I remember mumbling under my breath, like, how come I never experience anything good, anything benevolent? Why is it always got to be malevolent entities? And I was kind of sad, and I mumbled that under my breath, and he must have heard me, because that's like within a couple hours, I went to lay down, and as I was about to fall asleep, he showed up in a voice, and the voice spoke to me, and he said, I will comfort those that fast and keep my commandments. And that comforted me. And I couldn't believe that I heard that. Like I'm talking to you right now in my room. It's unbelievable. And then I was comforted, and I went to sleep like a baby. Like I understood that he was there. Even though I was experiencing all this evil stuff and all these evil entities, and I wasn't experiencing anything good, that right there, it was enough for like years to come. That's all I heard. And even then I was confused. Like, what do you mean I gotta fast? I will come for those that fast and keep my commandment. It's like, what do you mean I gotta fast? That wasn't even something in my understanding regarding salvation. But fasting doesn't mean fasting from food.
Well, let me contrast this too, since we're kind of deep in this. So somebody who has now something like ayahuasca is a whole separate category, but like, let's just say briefly, like someone who feels like when they take ayahuasca, there is like a plant spirit or like an intelligence that's either like speaking to them or assisting them in various ways. And it's always described, I mean, as a very like loving, healing, very highly intelligent type of spirit and so on. How would you, like, from what I know you meet, whether you have or haven't experienced that, but just in general, like from your understanding of those types of experiences, how would you kind of isolate, like, if you heard like a Jesus or you had that connection, somebody else is having a connection with ayahuasca, someone else is having, XYZ. How do you know that the one you had like is the ultimate reality? I suppose that's my question. The experience you had, how did you know that that's the ultimate one and not just one piece of like one of these many experiences
That's
that
that's a
people have?
that's a very complicated answer for that. For me to answer that would require like I can take you down the logical route, right? How you can basically dilute or distill all the gods that claim to be gods in the universe, right? Or that we know of in the world, right? And you can basically boil it down to only triune gods, right? Because you can actually logically deduce that only out of all the gods, right? There's only a handful that claim to be the ultimate supreme deity of the universe, right? Because most of them, you'll find out they don't even claim to be the creator of heaven and earth, the supreme ruler, right? They don't even claim that. So we can rule out all the other ones that don't claim to be the ultimate ruler. We can rule them out. And then we get down to, well, how many of these claim to be the ultimate ruler and the creator of heaven and earth? And then within those, how many are dyads versus monads, right? Because logically, dyads don't work, monads don't work for because you can't make sense of logic, nor the one of the many problem can be resolved. For example, with a dyad, where you have like dualism, where you have good and evil with equal potential, where like Satan and God are on the same level, right, in the same potential. There's an eternal struggle between good and evil with no resolution when they're both equally powerful, right? Or they're needed. Like if good needs evil to exist and evil needs good to exist, there will never be any resolution because good necessitates evil's existence. So there's no absolute truth. There's no absolute morality. It literally reduces into subjectivism. And then there's so much more to it. But so if you take out the dyads, and then if you have a monad, the monad can't, like, if you only have one god like Allah, right? You can't make sense of logic itself. There's no justifying the three laws of logic, which requires a triune nature. So once you boil it down to the triune nature, this is logically deduced. The philosophers have worked this out over thousands of years. Then you end up with only the triune gods. And then out of the triune gods, which ones are the most internally consistent, coherent, and congruent? And it comes down to the Christian God, bro. It's triune minimalism. Logic itself requires triune minimalism.
Okay. And what would you like call that whole approach you just said? Is there like what would you call that?
Triune minimalism.
That's what you call
Yeah,
that?
if you want to research it, research triune minimalism and the one and the many problem.
Well, I'm saying
What do
like
you mean?
if somebody followed that exact thing you're saying to a T, what would they like? And I'm not trying to like invoke like that we need to label people or whatever, but is there a phrase if someone would like say like I'm that, you know, like I mean, is it because it sounds like it's more than just biblical? Like
Yeah.
that whole deduction, that whole process you just went through of that kind of argumentation.
Yeah, so using propositional calculus, right? You can do a systematic analysis of all the gods in the world, right? And see which
it
ones
involves the Bible. It involves it, but yeah. It's sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
you can you can include the Bible, right? And the Quran and the Vedas and any holy text that you can find, and you can do a systematic analysis, a meta-analysis, very comprehensive, with propositional calculus at your side, right? And then you can literally through computation deduce which one is the most internally consistent, coherent, harmonious, and congruent using computation, right? Propositional calculus, which one actually makes sense of logic itself. You can be literally like an agnostic trying to figure out which of the gods makes the most sense, right? Which one is the most logical. And it literally you can literally distill it to only the triune gods of the world. And within the triune gods, there's only one that reigns supreme. Seriously.
Why does it have to be? There has to be one. Like, you're sort of treating it like I mean, what is it? You've got a bunch of options on the table, and you're forced to pick one essentially. I don't understand why are you allowed to look under the table? Like, I mean, it has to be one of these mainstream ones, essentially, is what you seem to be saying.
No, yeah, you can provide whichever gods to your all of them as much as you find, right? All of them, and then through process of elimination using deductive reasoning, propositional calculus, you're gonna find that it literally distills down to all the triune gods, and within the triune gods, which one is the most internally consistent, coherent, and harmonious? Seriously, you can do this
Well,
yourself. If you haven't done the
Did
work.
you
You
include
don't know.
no God as an op? Did you include no God as an option?
yeah, a lot of traditions don't always have like a god in that same way. So like if you're trying to compare them to others, like for example, like in Buddhism, it's more of a practice towards, uh, self expansion and so on, and like and transcendence and the like like a wisdom path essentially, and so on. And then like in Hinduism, they have a lot of different like art, like if I was to say like archetypal deities, like Shiva and these other kinds of beings. But they have like the idea of Atman and Brahman and all of that. So I'm just saying, if you're going to compare like those two that I just mentioned, for example, to something that requires like a god that is like a persona, they're kind of in different categories, it seems like.
Yeah, you're mixing the chickens with the eggs.
Or you guys have to decide which one do you really believe. And I think you're gonna have to weigh the consequences of your choices.
Yeah, but to answer the last guy, what can you include no God? I mean, that's not even like an option for any true philosopher that's pondered these things, right? The idea that there is no God is an absurd position. So it's not even
No,
like
no, it
literally,
depends on your definition of God. Like God could just be like an ultimate manifesting creator, but it's not like a personification of some character. I don't know, like why does it need to have a character? Like it can just be like the ether could be God.
So yeah, so we could, yeah, for the same reasons that I already explained, right? Because of logical reasons, right? You can't have creation be the God. You can't have ether be the God. There are necessary preconditions for God, for reality to exist. There, you have to check off the boxes in order to
Hang
have
on,
it. Hold on. In order to have a grounded argument, right? You have to check off the boxes. Otherwise, you'll have an illogical position, an absurd position.
Okay, can I
I'm not trying to walk you through every little checkbox, right?
You're talking about creation as if it's something that needs to have instructions, whereas you could look at it as a way of manifesting as you go.
Yeah, Lion, let me ask you this. Here, can I get like 20, 30 seconds? I'm going to read this real quick, though. It is from ChatGPT because this is what I wanted to. I had mentioned Buddhism. I mean, I'm not a Buddhist or anything. I don't like refer to myself as that. I do find there's a lot of beauty in a lot of different practices and so on. But I'm just bringing it up to give one quick example. So, like the argumentation you're giving, Lion, what if we were to compare that to this? I'm going to read this real quick. Okay, it says, unlike many Western religions, Buddhism is non-theistic, meaning it does not center on a creator God. Instead, it focuses on personal spiritual development, mindfulness, and gaining deep insight into the true nature of reality. And then it goes through the Four Noble Truths, which is like part of the framework. They have I'll go through, but it's like suffering, and then essentially the way to end the suffering is to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. And then the Noble Eightfold Path, it says here, a practical guide to living that includes ethical conduct, like right speech and action, mental discipline, like mindfulness and meditation, and wisdom, like right understanding. And then it talks about karma and rebirth and reincarnation as well. And then reaching nirvana. It says here the ultimate goal of Buddhism is nirvana. It is a state of liberation from the cycle of rebirth and suffering, characterized by perfect peace and freedom. So everything I just said there is obviously a totally different way to go about it. Like, it doesn't have a creator God. It's more about this like personal spiritual development and mindfulness and wisdom and trying to get to the truth and what the true reality is. And then going on this, and it's more of like a set of like suggestions if you want. Like, you don't even have to, it's not like you have to obey anyone. So like, and I'm not trying to say that this is better or worse than what you're describing. I'm just saying, how do you, in your mind, like with the argumentation you're putting forth, if the one I just read there, this is like a whole different way, and like, would you somehow try to apply everything I said there that it doesn't match laws of logic, and only because it's a totally
No,
different.
bro. It's completely just ignoring the logical necessities for reality. It's just a practice. Like, yeah, I go jogging every morning, dude. Okay, but you're ignoring the metaphysical preconditions for reality itself. You're just going jogging every morning as a practice. It's just a practice, dude. Just a way of life. It's not. That's why some people don't even consider Buddhism a religion. It's just a practice. Okay, you do CrossFit.
So you have to
Good
have a
job,
religion,
dude.
though.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, you do CrossFit. Like, obviously, CrossFit's not a religion.
What does it mean to say that it's not a so you have to have religion in this world, basically?
And I'm saying it's some people barely even consider Buddhism a religion, dude. It's just a practice.
I know that. You've repeated it 3 or 4 times now. My question to you is, does one actually require religion? You seem to be implying that it's absolutely required.
No, I'm not saying that at all, dude. If you don't have to have any religious views at all. You could die an atheist. It just makes you foolish.
I'm not, dude. Okay. I don't think you're picking up what I'm putting down, man.
No, I am picking up what
It
you're
says
putting
here,
down. I don't think you like.
I typed in for fun on ChatGPT, is Buddhism considered a religion? And it says it absolutely is. It says, as a religion, it has all the traditional hallmarks of a religion, including sacred texts, monastic orders, monks and nuns, rituals, temples, moral commandments, and beliefs about what happens after death, karma and rebirth. Then it goes on to say as a philosophy, and then also as a psychology. So I don't think it's necessarily just a practice. I don't know what that meant exactly. You're saying like writing it off as though it couldn't be the ultimate truth because it's quote unquote just a practice. Is that what you were trying to like it?
No.
I'm saying, how does this compare with all the logic stuff? Like just this whole framework compared to you saying
it's missing a creator.
I'm trying to explain to you. Like, yeah, I'm not denying that Buddhism is listed consistently alongside all the other world religions. I'm not denying that. Obviously, that's the case, and the consensus is that Buddhism is a religion. But if we were going to systematically analyze, like do an analysis between Buddhism and all the other world religions, it's lacking, right? Source. It's lacking like a creator, a personable God, right? And at the end of the day, just because you have sacred texts and you might have a moral code, yeah, so does the Constitution. You know what I mean?
I don't think Buddhist outright denies a creator. They just don't go into the diatribe of having to sort of articulate all of its meticulous character or characteristics.
And that could be dangerous.
Mate, fucking everything's dangerous. What are you talking about? People commit bloody wars and atrocities in the name of your Abrahamic God all the time. Everything's freaking dangerous.
Well, can I say one thing about so like there are different offshoots. So it seems like the Vedic and the Vedas and perhaps even more ancient texts than we're even given now. But it seems like was like a root for like a long period of time. And then you have like this Hinduism, Buddhism, like Sikhism, like you have various different like arrangements that have all come off, like Jainism, and etc. And how some of these are related. But the thing about Buddhism, like, yeah, in terms of like a creator, at least in like certain forms of Buddhism, they don't have it in that sense. But in Zen and also in Tibetan Buddhism, they do have like a fundamental like ground of being, or they call it like pure awareness that everyone can awaken to essentially. So they do. So in like, I'm just saying in Tibetan Buddhism, which is, I mean, could be more connected to like the roots of what it was originally, but because Tibetan Buddhism does seem like more advanced in a lot of ways. and they do have like a source in a sense, or there's different terms for it, like a ground of being, or like that pure awareness, which is interesting because when people have near-death experiences, they can often have that. It's like just they're just like perfectly aware in like an eternal state, and there's like no suffering there.
Which then kind of creates an interesting conundrum because these guys said that there was no creator in the Buddhist, but you guys actually did, like you said, yeah, there wasn't one, and apparently there is one, which means you didn't actually know that there was one. So now your assumption about what's on the table to choose and select from, you didn't actually fully understand one of those choices.
Well, arguably that could kind of both be right, because in some ways, like some forms of Buddhism don't necessarily refer to one like an actual like creator God in that sense. They refer to it more like it's all just like consciousness, that it's more like a wellspring of consciousness that's just always flowing, and there's cause and effect. So it's like this eternal process and so on. So there's some of those ideas, but I was talking about like in Tibetan Buddhism. So in Tibetan Buddhism, they do, which technically if they were saying that there's no Buddhists that have a creator, then that would technically be false if you include Tibetan Buddhism. And then also like in Zen as well. So I just think there's a lot of
Buddhism's like one of the like the most prominent ones, is it not? I don't know.
Well, there's just
Can I
there's
ask a
like
question to you
there's
guys
branches off the tree like to all these traditions. You know, it's like that in the Abrahamic as well. There's all these branches. Obviously, there's a ton in that with all of the different, you know.
Yeah, but
I gotta go. I won't be able to talk.
Like the
for a little bit.
Abrahamic
I'll be
religion
listening.
requires that they haven't got excuses for ignorance, and apparently they're displaying ignorance about something. It's just, I don't know, it's a conundrum.
You guys don't think for a second that you can talk lion out of his like Abrahamic?
No.
Judeo-Christian belief,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm testing the idea to the full of its potential. That's what I'm trying to do anyway. And I know I'm coming across a little bit hostile or whatnot, but you know, hold the feet to the fire and all that stuff, and see if it works, I suppose.
People are way more married to that than they are even to flat Earth.
Well, mild insult. Gotcha.
It's not a mild insult. I'm just saying that
full insult.
Then people are tied to certain beliefs.
Well, people are married to the globe.
Just like I'm tied to my globe beliefs.
People are married. A lot more people are married to the globe than flat Earth as well, right?
They don't even know why they're married to the globe, which is hilarious.
I actually
got a lot of
think
globe marriages, a lot of forced globe marriages to little children who didn't know any better.
For normies, I don't think that people really care. I don't think they think about it. Like if you ask them how do they know the Earth is a globe,
I'd like to know if you took
probably not give you any, like they probably wouldn't even give you like a good answer, but they just don't care. It's just like if you ask people like why is there seasons on the Earth, like most people wouldn't be able to tell you. Or if you ask them what causes the phases of the moon, they wouldn't be able to tell you.
Well done for believing in something that they have no justification for. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, they gave their agency away to others who just gave them this little wrapped up story that they like half learned about in school and then carried on in the rest of their life, just kind of having some like non-validated belief system that everyone else is also believing. It really is
it's no different than like if I asked you.
When you consider that it's not true, it's crazy to think that they're actually, it's like a sick thing that they're actually deceiving this many people.
All you require, right, is say there's 100 kids and you gave them, like, as they grow up, instead of the situation we have now where they basically, there is no flat earth theory or kind of curriculum or syllabus that's going around, right? It's all globe. And you have to actually sort of, I'd be wondering, Jake, do you think that if you took 100 kids and you didn't necessarily, like you didn't train them all in globe, you said, actually, what is it? All 100 of them have to learn both globe and flat earth. And then what's the percentage likelihood that you're going to have more flat earthers in that 100 group of kids?
It'd be more? No, it'd be zero.
Well, just to give you an idea from my understanding of how easily children believe things.
0% chance that
Hold on,
more kids would choose flat. Yeah, I just wanted to finish this question.
Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, 0% that would choose flat? Okay, well,
0% chance that the majority would choose flat.
If you're teaching both,
that wasn't what I said.
Yeah,
Go ahead, you said you asked me what are the chances that more than half would choose flat, and I said 0.
Okay. I was thinking about different ways that I could articulate that, and I'll be frank with you, I can't remember exactly which one came out. So, but yeah, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I mean, I guess Jake's trying to say that if you taught both of them, he thinks the globe would win or whatever. It's just his way of saying he thinks the globe is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that most kids would. I don't think the majority of kids would subscribe to flat Earth.
Well, I actually don't agree with that. I think if you told kids that we're stationary and at rest, that it would make a lot more sense. And kids would like it. That's what kids think by default. Like they wouldn't think they're on. You have to teach them the globe. Like human beings just think they're on a flat plane like throughout all the time. If you don't teach the globe, why is that? Now I know you would have arguments for that and this and that. So let's not. Okay, the thing I wanted to say actually is that apparently there are schools who have been documented where they were teaching flat Earth. And this would be like transitionary, like, early 1900s, late 1800s, like when there was some transition going on with some of this. And there were some people that were still like outspoken about flat Earth and who like were specifically like that one in Illinois etc., where like he they just only taught flat Earth, and from what I had read on that, like they said that like all the kids were flat earthers. Like that's it. Like they taught them all the Earth is stationary and
I've
a
never
plane
heard this
and
one, Gio.
the sun. Oh yeah, and there's
What's the
several.
name? What's the name of the school?
Yeah, I can get all the information. There's
Oh,
several
okay.
of them through to history though.
Because
One of them
even
is
in
Illinois.
Robotham's time in the 19th century, flat Earth was pretty fringe.
Well, okay, so my
That's
point
why
is
he was
though
a
is that
stand-up
there
leader.
are documentations of school districts that were solely teaching flat Earth, and that the sun
Oh,
is
I don't believe
local.
that.
Well, let me just finish. I'm just saying the sun is local. Some of them, one of them specifically, like even used like a Gleason's type map and said that the sun circles around with the seasons. Now that is obviously like contested. One of them did, like Voliva, that guy, the Voliva. He actually I think had that model to some extent. Other ones though were like, and there's ones that were doing like the biblical cosmology. My point is though, I'll pass the mic. My general point is that, from my understanding, if you have children and instead of teaching them the globe, because if you teach them all the globe, they just believe it. We were just going through that. Even though most people out there, they don't even know the radius, they don't know why, they don't know about curvature, they don't know about anything. They just believe it. That shows that they just basically are like, I don't want to say NPCs, but they'll believe what they're told. So meaning that they don't have proof of the globe, but they're just believing it. Now,
There's like literally,
let
I
me
could probably
say this.
name.
Hold on, but if you just teach that the Earth is like flat and stationary, all the children will just think it's flat and stationary. So I'm just pointing out that like
it's not really any different.
100% what you teach them makes the difference, and you can obviously.
It's not really any different than, I could probably name 1,000 things right now that you were taught at some point, either in school or through your parents or other things that you believe that you don't question. Right?
Pick one. Give us one. Just one.
Yeah, if you're gonna ask that, I would need some kind of example.
What's the fastest land animal on Earth?
Cheetah. I just said that off the top of my head. I don't know.
The snail.
What you mean,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
velocity, speed, or?
Yeah,
I just said that off the top of
velocity.
my head. Is it actually a cheetah?
Yeah, it is a cheetah.
Oh, I just literally said that.
But yeah, that's
it's
just
a
one of those.
bird. It's a bird.
How does that prove
Is it a
that
bird?
like
Yeah,
Gio
yeah,
had
it's a
anything
bird.
wrong in his mind that he was taught as a child, like by his parents, specifically? I think you said.
Oh, he said land mammal, I think.
Yeah,
though,
no,
as he-
it's not a bird. The cheetahs can have been clocked up to 75 miles an hour. There's no bird that can run that fast. But
No,
There's
fly.
birds that
Birds can
dive.
fly.
There's
Hello.
birds that
Fly.
dive into the water faster, bro.
Can't they dive at like 200 miles an hour?
yeah, I mean,
He said land
hawks.
animal.
Yeah, hawks can dive at over 200, but we're talking about running, not flying.
Yeah, he said
Um,
land mammal, I guess. Either way, let's just carry on. And
Anyway,
what was the, Rixky asked
but
me
that's
that
just one
question.
example, right? But literally, none of you guys have ever lined up all the animals in the animal kingdom and ran them on the savannah to see who's the fastest, right? You guys just heard that fact and you believe it, right?
No,
Dude,
not
I hear you, bro.
necessarily.
I mean, no, we do
It's
kind of
okay,
learn
bro.
things. We do repeat things that we learn, and we would hope that the things we're learning are true. So I hear you, dude. Like that is true. Like if we were talking about the fastest land mammal, and a few of us went and looked it up online, and we looked at what everyone else said, I hear you. We probably each of us might say something about it. I mean, I wouldn't put my like. I don't have any reason to assert it though. I would say like they say that that's the fastest one, but I would also be honest and say I haven't checked it.
He's asking a quiz question, presuming he knows the answer. Have you actually tested out the cheetah's speed yourself?
No, here's my thing.
Like we're
I think
just
it's
answering
perfectly-
to a set of like kind of generic questions essentially.
Well, it's like
It's not meant
code.
to be a
It's like
quiz
information you're
question.
given. It's like information you're given is like a code, and you have to process that code. And if you can process it that it's true and then repeat it, you're saying something true. But just the code itself could be faulty. So just the information itself. So that's the thing. If you're not a sphere and you teach a bunch of kids it's a sphere and they just go on believing it without really having proven it, then you're basically creating automaton worldview. People that are just having a worldview that they're being given in an automaton type way. Now, if you taught them a stationary plane Earth, I guess you could still say you're still like let's say it's not the Gleason's AE map just in this conversation, like that's not the true map of the Earth. But if you teach kids that it's planar and stationary, which is true, but then you're giving them the wrong map, well now you're like partially you have something wrong. It's not as wrong as the globe potentially in a way because it is correct on the planar and stationary side. But if it's the wrong map, or like saying that the sun always circles around Polaris, if that's not what it actually does, it also circles around Atlantis. And if you taught kids
super
that,
annoying, whoever's
someone's top
doing that.
miking. Someone's top miking. But if you it's just an example of if you taught them that it's planar and stationary, and that part's true, but if the Gleason's map is false in this discussion, I'm just saying if you then taught them that map, you're teaching them the wrong map, even though you're teaching them a part that's right. But they'll go on believing that. Like the Voliva, that's his last name, Voliva. When the whole school district was raised with flat Earth, and I think they used that type of map and model. So like conceivably, all those kids grew up thinking that was it. Now. So, anyways, I'm just saying kids just teach what you teach them, and when kids haven't validated it. Anyways, that was long-winded, sorry, but originally I was saying like information is like a code, and you have to figure out whether it's right or wrong, and you have to be able to discern it. And when you teach kids something, they do kind of just. But we even do that as adults, and that was the point you were saying. Like, what's the fastest cheetah? We might just look it up and be like, that's the one. But I don't know. I mean, are you really committed to it, or are you just saying that that's what you've. You could just share the code that you got, or you could say, hey, I processed this code and it's true. If you're telling us like cheetahs are that speed, well then now it's like you're putting your own, self on the line of an assertion. Versus you just saying, hey, I read this code somewhere and I'm just
All I'm
repeating it.
saying is that when it comes to people, they're going to believe what you teach them, just like you believe that the cheetah was the fastest land animal, even though yourself, you probably never, maybe you've seen a cheetah in a zoo, but you've never seen like a cheetah in the savannah, probably in the wild. You certainly never raced them against other animals to see who's the fastest, right? Like, but
Nah,
it's
just
something you were
on
taught and you
TV
believed,
videos,
right?
videos and TV, I
So,
guess.
or videos or whatever, right? But something that you were taught and you believed. And I don't think that that's bad. I mean, I know flat earthers, they always try to make this argument that, and you know, you guys get mad when I stereotype, but it is true. They have a big problem with, oh, you just believe that because somebody told you it. But it's like that's like 99.99% of the information that you have in your head. Most of it is accurate, at least to a high degree of accuracy, accurate. And it was just something you were told, right? So it's like there's no shame in that, right? Just
That's why it's
because you
remarkable.
believe it because somebody told you, there's no shame in it. And yeah, like in the 15th and 16th century, like probably kids that grew up in England were brainwashed with the Catholic Church, right? They were brainwashed with all that stuff, and they believed it because they were brainwashed with it. And if you taught kids flat Earth, they would believe that. If you taught them the globe, they would believe that. Most people aren't going to go and test it, just like they're not going to go and get all the animals in the African savannah and run them against one another, right? Like it's just the way that humans learn, because the world is far too complicated for you to test out everything that there is in it in order to confirm it for yourself. That's not a reasonable epistemology to go through life with.
What do you mean to challenge the paradigm? I mean, if you think that it was a good thing for the people of this generation to challenge the Catholic paradigm, surely you have no issue with people challenging paradigms.
Yeah, Jake, like what I want to say is this. Let me see if I can come through. Hold on, let me say this. Okay, here's the thing. If like 97%, okay, here's my thing. If 97% of all the information in the quote unquote mainstream was true, if 97% was true, like we only had 3% lies or deception, then I would hear you, dude, like that. Or let's say it's 99% or what, even if it's 92%, whatever. If it was like a great majority of truth, then it would make a little more sense to have a bit more of that trusting thing. Like, okay, I can't do everything. I'm going to, lean on that more. But the problem is that what percentage of the mainstream is true and what is not true? And I don't even think we're at 50-50. Like it's more lies than truth.
Dude, that's not true at all, Gio. I could sit here probably for the next 2 hours and name things that you believe that you haven't tested yourself, that you've learned, one way or another. Either you were taught in school, your parents taught you, your friends taught you.
Yeah, you said that earlier, and Rixky asked you for an example. So let's do an example now then, since you came back to it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it actually, for it to be relative, it has to be something of critical nature to like sort of existence itself almost. Like this idea of a cheetah being the fastest land animal is so like innocuous and not relevant or something.
Yeah, like I wouldn't really like assert that with some extreme, like if I was to tell someone that, like this is the truth, and I wouldn't like be, I wouldn't need to like, I'd be like, oh yeah, I've heard that the cheetah is the fastest one. Like I've never
Richie,
seen
do you think that any mushroom that you find growing anywhere is safe to eat? Would you eat any mushroom that anyone handed to you that was just growing on the ground?
No. I think that is a good question.
Why wouldn't you just eat any random mushroom? Mushrooms are delicious. Why wouldn't you eat anyone that you find growing anywhere?
Some of them kill you. That's why you can't just trust nature. You can't just run out and just willy-nilly.
You've never eaten a mushroom and died, Gio. You've probably never even watched someone eat a mushroom and die. So how do you know that that's true?
Oh, I have.
You know someone that ate a mushroom and died?
6 grams of psilocybin. There was a death occurring. Maybe not a physical death, but many layers of.
No. I'm talking physical death here. Do you know anyone that ate a poisonous mushroom and died?
I mean, in past lifetimes, it's happened many times in past lifetimes. Do I know anyone personally in this life?
Oh, can you name the person in the past lifetime so we can look them up?
Oh, a ton of people have died from mushroom poisoning.
Yeah, I just want the name of the person and what was their relationship to you that died in your past lifetime.
Isn't the issue though that I wouldn't just go around like picking up mushrooms randomly and sticking in my mouth? Like, and then you've also got to prove that I am wrong, right? So if I said, yeah, I just go eat any mushroom, you've got to be able to prove that I'm wrong, or else you're just basically appealing to this generic information anyway.
Yeah, how do we get to this? Because we're talking about like just believing things blindly and like.
Yeah, and it's just you guys blindly believe that
You also can't go up to a baby bear in nature and just start hugging it and petting it because the mother's going to think that you're, getting between it and the mother's going to come kill you. So there's just things you can't do because of like the consequences of that. But I thought you were talking originally about just like, okay, hearing something and then quote unquote believing it, or then just working it into your belief system, in a way. Like if someone says to me, hey, I'm going to China, I'm not going to say, I don't know that China's even a place. I'm going to be like, oh, okay, yeah. Like actually, anyways. So I'm just saying like, Nico's in China when he comes in here, like I'm not. Is that an example? But anyways, I'm just that was what it was originally, and then somehow we got on this like, okay. How's the poisonous mushroom? How's dying of a poisonous mushroom linked into this?
It's just simply something that someone told you or you heard somewhere and you believed it, and you go through your life with that in your mind.
Okay, so here's the thing: I've never eaten a poisonous mushroom that's killed me, and I don't think I know anyone at firsthand that I know that ate a poisonous mushroom and killed them. So yes, the information
they wouldn't be here to answer the question.
Let me finish my thing. The information that there are mushrooms in nature that could kill people is something that, like, I guess the ways I know it are through Well, there's several different channels. The past lifetime one I mentioned, I was just saying for eons of time, that's a thing that has happened through history. So just through past lifetimes in general. But that's bringing that part of it in. Otherwise, like there's medical journals, there's a good amount of information and like testimonies and information that there are mushrooms in nature that will kill you. So like, I guess I don't know that I would say I believe that though, but like I would have like justifications for why I think that's very likely the case, like very, very likely the case, even though I've never eaten one and I've never seen anyone in front of me eat a mushroom and die. But the fact that that is a thing in reality, like, yeah, I'm quite sure it is. But
Enough to where it changes
at
your
the same time,
behavior.
I haven't checked it firsthand at the same time. So it's
But
just
enough to where it
everything's
changes your behavior. You probably would never grab a wild growing mushroom and choose to eat it.
No, you got to know what you're you got to know what you're doing in nature. Yeah. I mean, you, like I said, you also don't want to go up and start petting a baby bear because the mother's going to think you're attacking it. The mother's going to.
I wouldn't eat some like fruity looking berries on a random bush that I don't, if I don't understand what that is, right? Like I wouldn't do that either, because I've heard
Yeah,
that
you have
some
to know
berries
what
are
you're doing.
poisonous, right? But I've
This is
never
why
been
we have,
poisoned
like,
by a berry, and I don't know anyone that's been poisoned by a berry. But I've been taught, I've heard, if someone told me something and I believed it, that there are berries that if you eat them, maybe they won't kill you, but they could definitely make you very sick.
Yeah, and you also don't want to be going and getting vaccines and be giving people autism.
But anyway, that's just the kind of stuff. Like there's just all kinds of things like that that you're taught that you never personally tested for yourself and that you just believed it. And I don't. And like I said, I'm not seeing that as a pejorative. Like I think that's a very reasonable way to go through life. And if you don't do that, I think you'd just be like a person that's just incredibly ignorant, or it would just be.
You're categorizing everyone does this thing because see, I guess we could get into like the word belief and what that means, but I don't like. I guess I feel like I categorize information in different ways, but I'm not sitting here like feeling like I believe that a cheetah does that. But I guess you have to get into the like by belief. Are you meaning like just believing in the validity of something without direct proof, essentially?
Belief is just something that you hold true.
Well, that's another definition of belief. That's what I'm saying. So we have to define which one you're referring to. One of them is like going with something essentially, or like committing yourself to it, even though you really don't have proof for it. That's more like the blind faith kind of type one or blind belief. But that's one of the definitions of belief. But another one is just like some knowledge that you hold as being likely the case or whatever. So I know there's all right. So if
some beliefs are just more grounded in reality than others, right? Like a lion here believes in a Judeo-Christian God, right? But that's different than the belief that a cheetah is the fastest running animal, because that's obviously
all right,
a
if you're
lot
using
more
the words that way,
empirical.
then
But
thank you for the clarification. If that's how you're using them, I mean, I've thought of it. There is that kind of way to delineate it. All right, well then, because I was kind of the thing is it's important we did that because I was reacting to the one because you kept saying I believe things, and I may have some of one. I would do one of those definitions, but not the other. Like I wouldn't really do the I wouldn't have any need to like hold something as true in a way where I'm like like the one belief way where you're like having there's that term blind belief, but where you're kind of having more of like just like a hope that it's the case without really knowing.
Can I? Who is this? So I got the name. Is it Jake? Jake, do you believe that sausage rolls could kill people or could kill you?
I mean, I don't know about it. Like as far maybe with like salmonella poisoning, people could choke on it. So I've heard sausage is actually the number one thing that people choke on, like when they die and like choke to death. So I guess potentially, yeah.
So then, I mean, what? I mean, I'm just trying to work this out. Like, because if we take this idea, yeah, okay, mushroom. I believe that mushroom. I mean, I don't really know if I believe that. Although I am cautious enough to think I'm just not going to go sticking random mushrooms in my mouth. At the same time,
that means you believe it.
Does that mean that you go to the store and you see that sausage roll there and you say, well, that sausage roll can kill me?
If you're using
the word, I'd look
at
a mushroom and say, well, that mushroom might kill me.
Yeah, if you're using the word belief as like something you hold as like either like true or very, very, let's just say that you have knowledge on or very, very likely to be the case, or that's the thing we have to get into how we're defining that. But if you're going off that, like, yeah, if somebody has heard that mushrooms can kill you, but they've never seen or eaten one themselves, but they're not going to go out there and just willy-nilly eating any mushrooms, then yeah, if you're using the word belief in that way, like they obviously hold whether you define it as a thing of truth or a thing of reality or something that is the case, to where they're going to actually change their actions based on it.
Yeah, and it's not a dichotomy. Like believing something to be true is not a dichotomy. Like either you fully believe it or you don't believe it, right? It's a gradient, right? Like it's a gradient of belief, right? And most things will end in that gradient, right? Like are my kids my flesh and blood? Well, my wife has always been faithful to me. My kids look like me. I believe that they are my kids, but I've never had a DNA test, and maybe even if I did, how do I know the DNA test is even true or accurate? Or maybe it's just that's a hoax too. So I guess I don't know 100% that my kids are my own. I probably would say I know that the sky is blue a lot more than knowing that my kids are my own. I believe the sky is blue a lot more than I believe my kids are my own. But I still very much believe that my kids are my own kids, right?
Yeah, but that's a trichotomy. It's either you don't know, you do know. You either believe it's true, you believe it's not true, or you don't know.
A belief is on a gradient, especially when it comes to like the metaphysical, like especially with people's like God and Christian or whatever religion believes, it's a gradient. People aren't. I mean, people may claim and proclaim that they 100% believe, but I think it's reasonable to doubt everything, right? Like,
Wait, having
I think
doubts
you're
isn't the
misusing
same
the
as
word
belief.
belief. Maybe
Yeah.
to say no, like to know something. A belief is irrelevant. You can believe anything you want, right?
belief is just
But
holding something to
no,
be true.
you can
Right.
believe anything you
It's
want.
not a
Doesn't make it
gradient though.
true.
You either
Belief is
believe it's
literally
true.
just holding something to be true. And
Here,
like
Yeah,
I
but
said, that's a gradient because like you believe that your mom is your mom, but she may not be your mom. You may have a different
I
biological
100.
mom.
She
Yeah, but
might
I
Like,
can
not
do a
be.
DNA test and find out and know for sure. I don't need to
yeah, but how
believe.
do you know the DNA test is
hey, let
anything
me.
that's even real? How do you know the
Oh,
DNA test isn't just bullshit, right?
No, but
Like, by the way, that 23andMe thing, they ended up finding that was a total scam. Like, they were randomly creating results for people.
wait,
As far
Jake.
as
All
like
right.
what was your like ethnic makeup and all that stuff, they found that it was all bullshit.
Okay,
The
those are
fact.
all branches of conversation. Can I just hold on? Can I get 20 seconds real quick? Let me just say this. The thing about the word belief is, I'm just going to read this. This is right from Merriam-Webster. This is why the word belief is so tricky, because now you guys are in it talking about slightly different definitions, I think. So let me just read the first three real quick. The first definition of belief: a state or habit of mind in which trust or confidence is placed in some person or thing. So that's one where there's like a trust or a confidence. Some might call that kind of a blind faith thing, but that's the one, like a trust or confidence. Oh, I believe that to be the case. Like you have a trust or confidence that is the case. The next one: something that is accepted, considered to be true, or held as an opinion. Okay, now that's the one Jake's talking about. Something that they're accepting as true, considered to be true. That's the definition of belief that Jake was talking about. Then this one, the third one: conviction of the truth of some statement or the reality of some being or phenomenon, especially when used as examination of evidence. Okay, so that one's even going. But
that makes no sense.
I think I like the first one better, actually. If I could change it, like degree of confidence is actually, I think, where I was going, right? Like when someone asks you how confident are you, like I think when it comes to things like how confident are you the sky is blue, very, very confident. How confident are you that your mom is your own man? I mean, I'm not as confident as the sky being blue, that's for sure. I'm pretty confident that my mom is my mom, but not as confident as the sky being blue. Just like my own kids, how confident am I that I'm the father of my own kids? I'm very confident, but not as confident as the sky being blue, right? Like,
Are you
all
sure
right, well,
that your
this
version
is
of blue is the same as my version of blue?
hold on. Can I just? That's an
Go ahead,
interesting thing
Gio.
as well. No, that's an interesting point too. I don't want to
yeah,
distract.
but that's like what everyone calls blue. Like even if we all see blue differently, at least we agree that two blues are the same, right? Like
Well,
the
Jake,
car is blue and the sky is blue, unless you're colorblind, obviously. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I mean, the thing is, like the type of belief where you're putting like a trust or confidence in something, that's like what some people like, like some people would say they believe in God. Like they don't know for sure, if God, but they just believe in it. Like it's more in that sense. So that's a different usage. But SE, the last one I had read there, I just want to read it again because I might have even said it slightly wrong. And this is the one, Jake, you're talking about too. It says, for the definition of belief, the third one, it says conviction of the truth of some statement or the reality of some being or phenomenon, especially when based on examination of evidence. So that's like, for the example says belief in the validity of scientific statements. So that's something
but
where
you don't need to believe.
But you think you've
on that one.
examined the evidence, and then you now have a conviction that it's true based on the examination of the evidence. Technically, is what that could be.
I
Saying.
would say though that Gio, no
It's not
matter
a
what,
belief.
you have a confidence in it, right? Like I could go through like a bunch of scientific stuff, and I would rate a different confidence in that belief.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't say, oh, it's either 100% or zero, right? Like it's going to be a gradient, right?
yeah, but
No, you're
that's
going on the 99.9%, Jake. I know
the
where you're heading.
gradient.
That's why you don't wanna commit, right? That's
No,
where
there's
you're going.
lots of things.
99.9,
There's
right?
things that I'm 50-50 on.
Yeah, but the gradient applies to the confidence, not to the belief, right? That's the difference. You seem to be mistaking the belief with either the reality or the confidence of the reality.
Exactly. It's either true or false. You can believe in the fairy tale, in the tooth fairy. It's irrelevant. A belief is a belief, like a God. I believe in God. But to know something is a whole different thing.
Well, I would say it's like let's say Lee
Well, let me say
Harvey
this.
Oswald.
Well,
Lee
while you're
Harvey
thinking,
Oswald was the only person that actually shot JFK. I'm like pretty much 50-50 on that. Like I'm not super strong one way or the other on it, right?
Okay, well, it's simpler to start from the base question. Do you believe it? There's
Do I
three
believe
answers.
what?
Well, with any question.
But that's
Yeah,
the
I
thing
don't
about
think
the word.
I
That's
don't
the
think
thing about the
I
word belief, though. Belief has
I
these
just
different meanings. Because, like, let me just read the second one again. It says something that is accepted, considered to be true, or held as an opinion. So, like someone's religious or political beliefs. See, that's a very different one. Like, that's literally saying like you're accepting it and considering it to be true. Meaning, if someone says, "Hey, man, I'm going to China and I'm getting on the plane right now," and then they call you a day later and they're like, "Yo, I'm in China. It's amazing here." Like, if you accept that, you consider it to be true. It could be said, or even if you have it as an opinion. Oh yeah, my opinion is that my friend just went to China, for example. Technically, that would fit belief, and you could say, "I believe my friend just flew to China," because you accept it and you consider it to be true, and it's your opinion, which all fits technically that definition of belief, of the word.
Yeah,
belief.
but your friend could have went to Taiwan, right?
yeah,
Right.
or
You
he
can
could
believe
be
it all you want, but
or he
that's
could
what I
be
was saying
bragging or something, right?
about
Like,
the
and
fact
not
of the
actually
matter,
gonna.
right? The fact of what actually is happening in reality is separate to what your belief is. So he could have went to
Exactly.
Taiwan, but that's irrelevant to the point of whether you believe he went to China.
That's the
Well, you
gist of it right there.
Yeah, you would hope you're right. I mean, the belief part doesn't really, confirm that it's true or not. It's just
It's irrelevant,
the state
though.
of mind of accepting it or considering it to be true would then be the belief in that definition.
It's self-explanatory. I believe in the absence of me knowing. I believe. Now, if my friend went to China and I followed him there and I saw him in China, then I know he went to China, right? I don't have to believe it anymore. There's a difference there.
Well, the example was
Yeah,
brought
but
up
you could be
earlier.
bananas.
Well, yeah, you can always be lied to, and you could believe, if you're using the word belief in that, you could believe something that's wrong. But there's the other kind of connotation of belief where it's more of like having a faith or like a trust in that something is true, even though you really don't have evidence for it. That's the thing about the word belief; it just has that other.
Yeah, I would say, Geo, that like, people basically will substitute the word faith when they have a belief in something that's not well justified. They'll
Yeah,
use
faith is a good
as a
thing to
replacement.
explain. Yeah.
Do you think
faith.
do you think somebody would try to do excessive justification because they're trying to justify the faith? Are you linking that into it? That they're
Potentially, yeah, potentially. Faith is just, yeah, faith is kind of a word, a placeholder that we put for like a belief that's not well substantiated with evidence, I would say.
Well, I mean, okay. I was asking if you think that's the case in some cases.
But
But you're
language,
trying to say in all cases because that doesn't
but,
seem to me.
language is complicated, right? Like if I say I have faith that my wife won't step out on me, that's people use
You
it
know, I
there.
was
But I
thinking the
would
same
say
thing, Jake.
I
I
would say
believe my wife told me she's going out with her friends. Sorry to interrupt because you
That's
read my
okay.
mind there, right? I believe my wife when she told me she's going to go out with her friends, right?
But like when
But
I
I
say I have
also
faith that
believe that maybe she's cheating on me, right? So
I
I went
see.
and I
I was
checked,
gonna say
and
like
it's true
language is
that
complicated, especially English, right? Like when we say like I have faith my wife is not going to cheat on me, that's probably based on confidence, past behavior, knowing her personality, knowing the type of person she is, stuff like that, which could be like a very grounded and well-founded reason to believe that, right? To have faith in her that she's going to be faithful. But I think it's different than when like Zion is saying he has faith in his Judeo-Christian God, right? Like that's different than me saying I have faith that my wife won't cheat on me, because that's more based on something more grounded, I believe.
it's kind of the same thing, bro. It's kind of the same thing.
Okay, let me say this real quick. So, SE, the one you were saying right there. So, this is actually from dictionary.com, and this one's like kind of more the one I was saying. Okay, this is the second definition on dictionary.com. It says for belief, confidence in the truth or existence of something not immediately susceptible to rigorous proof. See, that
Right.
one, that's
Right.
the one you're more referring to, right? Something that's not
Yeah.
immediately. So, for example, if you say, "Oh, I believe my wife went out," but you didn't prove it, you didn't follow her, you don't have a tracking device, you didn't prove it, but you believe that she's out with her friends or whatever,
Exactly.
and you have confidence in the truth of that, enough confidence to, like if you're not worried she's cheating, you just go about your day, do your thing, you're not even worried about it, But if you're starting to be, have a sneaking suspicion or whatever, then you would try to, look into it. And then lastly, I want to say one of the other definitions of belief here, it just says a religious tenet or tenets, religious creed or faith. So I mean, right in the word of belief too, like the religious tenets and religious creed and faith. So that's the other complicated thing about the word belief is that people say it. Sometimes they think you're talking about more of that religious connotation. Sometimes they're talking about like having faith or like confidence in something. So sometimes they're talking about something that you just believe without proof. And then sometimes they're talking about it with the word belief, like what Jake was using it as, is just something you hold as an opinion or a conviction, just a general thing. Like, so yeah, that word is, I think it causes a lot of mishaps sometimes in communication when it,
But if you really strip it
we need to
down,
break belief up into like 3 different words or something.
you can, but if you really strip it down, it's just a different shade of blue, right? It really means the same thing. Believing in something without knowing for sure. Same
Yeah, I
with
guess you're right.
religion, same with cosmology, same if your wife is cheating on you. Same thing.
Well, the way I
No,
look
I
at
do
it,
hear you. There is overlap with all of them because, like the religious tenet ones, you're saying in that case, like you can't really prove that those religious tenets are true. You just have to believe them. Is that how
Well,
you
the
would say?
proof, yeah, okay, I'll give you that. The proof part, yeah, is different in that sense, yeah, for sure. Because you can prove one and you can't prove the other in the case of God or cosmology. So that is a difference there for sure.
Yeah, Intro, you were getting in, or
say I've heard it described as like belief is passive and faith is active, and I kind of like that, where it's like you can think something's true, but until you act on it is kind of the difference with faith.
yeah, faith is more of an action. You're saying belief is more passive.
Right. So like the example here is I believe that chair will hold my weight, right? And until you take a leap or an action to prove that it'll hold your weight, such as sitting in it, then that's like the core difference.
How
So
about
it's like,
this?
yeah.
How about this? Belief is an assumption without proof. about that.
An assumption that something's true without full proof of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting if you define it that way. Because when you look at, I mean, a lot of the mainstream science says they don't even prove things. So that means it's all belief at that point. If you're,
Oh yeah,
you're
let's not
proving
get into
anything.
that.
Oh man, Houston, we have a problem with that worldview.
Oh yeah. But it's self-explanatory. A belief, right? I believe. I don't know. I know is different than I believe. I mean, it's to me, it's plain cut, but there's nuances there for sure. The proof part for one, but it's self-explanatory. I believe. I have faith. I believe in God. I believe in Krishna. You know, I believe in the devil, right?
Well, it's
Yo,
tricky because belief is the foundation of all those categories.
Belief is the foundation of all knowledge. So
Right.
like that's
It
why
is a
science,
subset
like
of knowledge.
true philosophers, right, will say that you can't actually come to absolute knowledge with the scientific method, inductive reasoning, because you can't science the scientific method itself. Right? So you already have to start off with a set of preconditions that are basically taken for granted. So before you can even begin to do any type of science, you have to take these things like knowledge itself. That knowledge itself is accessible, right? That the uniformity of nature exists. Right? Like these things you had to already take for granted before you can even begin to science. You have to believe that knowledge is accessible. You have to believe that the uniformity of nature exists. You can't science it though. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's partially true, but it's a slippery slope because I don't believe there's water. I know there's water, right?
Not,
Not
yeah,
believe.
hold on. So this is what I'm trying to explain to you, bro. Like I'm not a solipsist. A lot of people think that when you start talking like this, you're a solipsist. I'm not a solipsist. Tor's not a solipsist. People who believe in presuppositional apologetics, we're not solipsists. The problem is, right, when you're gonna talk about knowledge, what is knowledge? Right? What is truth? What is truth? What is
Knowledge and
knowledge?
truth, that's simple. I mean, it's self-explanatory. I know there's water, right?
Yeah, but it's based
I
on
know there's rocks.
It's based on a presumption about beliefs you already have. That's what he's trying to say to you.
Well,
you have to hold a framework of assumptions before you can even begin to do science. There's already a set of preconditions that you hold to be true axiomatically without ever doing science on it.
I guess I can give you that, but there is a difference between belief and knowing. That's my point.
There's not. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. All knowledge, right, requires faith as a precondition. Like you have to have faith. Faith is synonymous with confidence. That's why you're not gonna have confidence in something you don't hold to be true.
I don't need faith to know there's water.
You don't need confidence?
Well, confidence maybe, but faith to believe? I don't believe. I know there's water. I know if I don't drink water in 4 days, I'll be dead. 5, whatever. That's not a belief.
Yeah, how do you know that?
Well, because we know other people that have died in the desert, well documented, without water, and they're found dead, dehydrated, or in the ocean, right? When there's no water, sailors.
Yeah, and what's that give you? That gives
It gives me the knowledge that I know there's water, and I know that the human body needs water and can't go without it for more than a week, let's say, or whatever.
I'm trying to explain to you that knowledge and faith, right, are connected, right? They're inseparable. You can't acquire knowledge without faith, without confidence. Confidence is a necessary antecedent before knowledge. You can't have knowledge without confidence, especially
there's no
with
faith needed here, Lion. There's no faith.
Especially with induction. It requires a gradient, right? So, for example, the reason that scientists, right, the reason that they do experiments, or the reason that they make observations, right, and then they want the experiments to be testable and repeatable. The more that you can repeat the experiment, the more confidence you have in the effect, in the conclusion, right? And because of the confidence, you now have acquired a type of knowledge. But without confidence, you can't have knowledge.
Well, I partially agree with that, but let me ask you: do you know there's water, or there's an uncertainty in your mind that there is water?
Yeah, I know that. I know there's water.
Do you need faith? Did you need faith for that?
Yes.
How so?
Because there are preconditions, right? Like the uniformity of nature, right? That I'm a conscious being having a conscious experience, right? That water isn't some type of illusory material, right? You have to have these set of preconditions already in place before you can even begin to acquire knowledge in the universe.
Okay, I'm not denying that, but like I said, how does that explain you need faith to know there's water? I don't need faith. I don't have to pray to water. I don't have to believe in water. I know water exists, and I know, like I said, I need water to survive. There's no faith there. I don't have to pray to anybody or
you have to step out of your paradigm for a second, right? Because right now you're taking all the transcendental categories, you're taking it for granted, right? So the fact that you're a conscious being having a conscious experience, the fact that there's uniformity of nature, right? That you're taking all that for granted, but you need all that to even acquire knowledge. You need all of that, but yet you haven't scienced any of that. You take it
what do you mean
axiomatically.
uniformity of nature? What,
You,
what
do
are
you know
you
what? Yeah, I'm talking about axioms. Like the laws of logic themselves. Your reasoning capability, the capacity for you to reason, you're taking that for granted. Though you can't do induction on it, you can't do the scientific experiment on the laws of logic. They're axioms. So you take them, you use them right now to acquire knowledge. You're using the laws of logic to acquire knowledge, but you don't have any justification for the laws of logic or the uniformity of nature. You're using it right now to make an argument, to debate me. You have faith in.
But I don't need the laws of logic to know there's water.
Yes, you do. You have faith in the
How?
laws of logic. You have faith in reasoning without any justification.
Are you kidding me, bro?
No, I'm not.
I need
dude.
to
I'm serious.
logic that there's water. I need to use logic that there's water.
Absolutely. Yeah. So logic itself is an epistemological category. You're taking it for granted. You're using it. You don't even realize you're using it, right? It's part of your worldview that you hold to be true, yet you don't have any evidence or justification for the laws of logic. So that right there shows that it requires some type of preconditions before you can even begin to make observations of the world, before you can even begin to figure out P's and Q's. If P, then Q, right? Another one, the law of causality. What
But
justification
look,
do you
in a
have for laws
sense,
of
okay, in a
causality?
sense, I'll give you that here. If the laws of logic, right, with water, like I don't need to know to use the laws of logic to know there's water, but I need it in my second premise when I said, if you don't drink water, you will die, right? So their logic comes into play, obviously, for sure, right? You're making a
Yeah.
syllogism.
Yeah,
If this, then that, or if not this, then that. Okay, I give you that. But to know that there's water, I mean, isn't that like let's call it an axiom? like it's there? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So I'm talking about axioms. So the laws of logic are axiomatic, right?
Yeah, but
Knowledge
how are
itself.
you going to logic water? Give me a syllogism for water. Go for it.
It's the
That
law
water
of.
exists.
It's just water has essential properties, right? It's fluid-like, right? It makes up most of the world's oceans. It has an identity that we have classified, right, through the law of identity. But yet you don't have any justification for the law of identity. You just hold the law of identity to be axiomatically true. You have faith in it, right? So you're using it to classify what water is, yet you don't have any evidence or justification for the laws of logic. They just are, right? They're like, you can call them axioms. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. You're using it right now. You don't, because you're so used to using it, you don't even realize you're using it. You take it for granted. So when people do the scientific method, there's a whole bunch of preconditions involved to doing science that they don't even realize you're taking it at face value, right? Or face value, excuse me.
I don't know if you want to say that it's an axiom that water exists, okay? But
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the law of identity is an axiom. So when you classify entities in reality, right, you're using the law of identity to classify an entity, whether it's an apple, right, or pear, or banana, or water, or salt, right? These things have essence. But when it comes to justifying the law of identity, you can't do that. You have no methodology for justifying the law of identity. You use it, though, to debate with me regarding water's existence. Yet you have no justification.
do I need justification to know that water exists?
No,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
don't. No, you don't. You can argue, right? You can borrow, right, from the Christian worldview. You can use uniformity of nature. You can use the laws of logic in your reasoning. Just understand that you have faith in the laws of logic without any justification.
But I don't need to have faith in the laws of logic. Do I?
So how do you acquire knowledge?
you kind of do, yeah.
You need to have faith in the laws of logic?
Yeah,
You don't have
it's
to know.
You can't just know that they're there? That logic
You
is
don't even.
there?
You don't even have to know like the classic classifications of logic. You don't even have to know the 3 laws of logic. You don't have to know them. They don't have to be part of your forefront of your mind. For example, a dog can use the laws of logic, right? If I smell
dog.
bacon, right? If I smell jerky in my owner's pocket, right? If I smell jerky in my owner's pocket, P, he has jerky in his pocket, Q, right? So dogs can use logic, right? Subconsciously, they're using logic. They don't even realize it. You are using logic. You don't even realize you're using logic, right? Because it's part of your subconscious, right? It hasn't been brought forth to your forefront, the forefront of your mind. So I'm trying to get you to understand and reflect that. Listen, you're using epistemological categories that you have faith in with no justification. They're necessary preconditions for knowledge itself.
Do you believe, Lion, if there was a guru that understood everything about this realm and how it works and the afterlife and all of that, that they would be able to like tell everyone and show them evidence and proof, and everyone would just believe it straight away? Like, where is this person that's got the ultimate truth? I haven't seen one yet.
Jesus Christ.
So you believe it or you know? See, now you're gonna get caught up in your own thing, bro. when you say that, I mean you're gonna get caught up in your belief system.
No. Dude, all knowledge
Can
requires
you logic, Jesus Christ? Can you use logic?
absolutely. All knowledge requires faith. It's a necessary precondition for knowledge itself, including when it comes to faith itself in the Bible. As faith is described in the Bible, it's not blind faith, right? With no reason, with no wisdom, with no logic. No, the scriptures actually call upon us to test all things, to actually, God says, he said, yeah, in Isaiah, he says, come together so we can reason together. God wants us to reason with him, right? So that we can come to a reasonable conclusion regarding our reality, right? It says that his invisible qualities are made manifest all around us. And we can reason, right? That God exists because of the creation, because of irreducible complexity, right? So faith actually includes reasoning and wisdom. It's not just like, oh, willy-nilly just believe whatever. Oh, I believe in unicorns. That's not the type of faith that the Bible talks about.
No, you just
Well,
believe
look,
in the words of the Bible.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, why? Exactly, why?
Because of faithfulness, because of internal consistency, coherency, harmony.
Look. If it was true, there would be a guru that knows all about it and would be able to demonstrate it that it works, and everyone on earth would be a believer. But it's not like that.
That's not true.
It is true. You
No.
should be able to demonstrate it. Everyone would bow down, and everyone would be wearing a cross and going to church on Sunday. But that's just not how it's happening, because there's not one guru that's got it to show it and demonstrate it.
That's not
Because
true,
it's
bro.
not true.
Jesus Christ himself denied that. He says, they didn't believe the prophets of old. They don't believe you think that the resurrection is going to convince them?
see, this is where belief and knowledge comes in, right? What we were talking about before. You can believe in Jesus Christ or this certain type of God, but there's no way of knowing. This is a perfect example of belief, of faith-based belief versus knowledge, versus logic, logos. Those
How
are two
can you not
different
know
things. Bro.
though? Sorry. I see. How can you not know though, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, no, the question is, how can you know? Like me, for example, I believe there's a creator, right? Maybe not the same one you believe in, Eden, but there's no way for me to prove it. So that's a belief. I believe. I don't know for certain.
The
Wait,
only thing
you
you
don't
can
think you can prove
100%
it?
know is what you've experienced to be true.
See, this is
And
where
even
belief and
even that's
knowledge
not true.
separate.
Well, yeah, if you guys were talking about earlier, like you can only have a high confidence that the sky is blue or whatnot, right? But
Jesus said, he said to him, if they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced that someone should be raised from the dead. You can't convince people, even with the metaphysical miracles that happened back then. They're not even convinced. What's going to convince somebody, dude?
oh,
Ultimately.
Yeah, that's
what
for
do they
you.
experience?
That's for you to provide the evidence, dude. Like, you're not supposed to be asking that question. You're supposed to be providing the
I'm
evidence.
demonstrating to you, bro, that your premise is faulty, because even the Israelites who in the Exodus, who experienced all the metaphysical works of God, who heard God speak from the mountain, still lacked faith, still were disobedient. So if
They would have to
miraculous works
experience
ain't going
the
to
truth
convince
of
them,
God.
you think logic's going to convince them?
No, Lion, you would have to experience the truth of God. Like, how did you become from a non-believer to a believer? You experienced the truth of God, so you know it to be true because that's what you've experienced.
Yeah, but I'm saying that it's an individual case by case basis. Some people, right, they have not seen yet they believe. Some people, right, they have seen and still don't believe.
But you're starting off with a faulty premise to begin with. You're saying in the Bible it says that people heard God and they didn't believe him. Right away, you're starting off with a faulty premise.
No, I'm saying people hypothetically speaking could experience miracles, right? They could experience all types of synchronicities in their life, undeniable synchronicities. Yet they can still deny God's very existence. So even with miraculous works, even with logic, you can't bring somebody to God. It's up to them.
That's my whole point. You can't logic with religion. It's a belief system. You
No, you
cannot
can,
use
SC.
logic when you
You
talk
can.
about religion.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, SC, but I think you can, just like we could logic with people who believed in the globe, and you used logic to get them out of that mentality. So some people are more stubborn than others, but it's undeniable because you were a glober, and I don't think you are now. So you can use logic to get someone out of one belief to out into another of knowing.
No, that's a belief, bro. You just said it yourself.
Well, I
How are
said
you going
knowing.
to
You
use
can know it's not
logic
a,
to make somebody believe something?
or you can use logic to let them know something as well, but it's not a globe, for
You
example.
make a good enough argument, you might convince them, change their beliefs.
Yeah, I was convinced. I changed my belief.
But it's a belief, bro. It's not a knowledge, right? When you use logic, it's if P then Q, right? It's like you're proving something, really.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
If P then Q, you know? P therefore Q. What are you going to say? If Jesus then Christianity? Christianity then Jesus? How does that work?
Well, like if you're shown if P then Q, then and you believe it, then you've now adopted that as one of your beliefs. If P then Q.
Yeah, but it's a belief. It's not a proof.
Right.
Well, that's the axiom he was talking about earlier. We take that part for granted. Most people act when they're talking about logic, they skip that step. And that's what Lion was trying to explain.
Well, then it's not really is it really an axiomatic system then?
Well,
If you
a
put a
logical
belief
system,
in
a logical system, or any consistent system is only true if its assumptions are true as well. So it can be completely internally consistent and still false if its assumptions are false.
Well, well, that's the problem with if you deny that logic is always true and always consistent, then using logic to prove your point is kind of it doesn't work, right? It'd be paradoxical.
Was that to me or what?
Yeah.
Wait, did you objected to what I said or?
Yes, it doesn't apply to logic. Well, if you're going to use logic, right?
I'm talking about a logical system.
I know. Did you use logic to come to that conclusion, though?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with logic. It's
Right.
but
That was our point earlier. You have to have faith in logic, right, in order to apply logic to everything else.
faith in logic. But faith is evidence of things unseen. You can see logic and work through it. I agree. There's like belief comes first. Yeah, you have to have that belief that logic is true or consistent or a good framework for getting to truth.
And then you can move from belief to knowing, I guess. Confidence. Or
Well-
you move from belief to knowing, I guess.
We can quibble about belief and faith again, but the way I look at faith is the exercise of belief. So if we just hold logic to be true and consistent, right, that's the axiom we take for granted. And then so everything is based on that belief. That's what Lion was trying to say.
Yeah, so it's a belief. That's what I'm trying to say. So when it comes down to it, it's a
Well, he's
belief
saying
system.
even with things you know, right? If you use logic to conclude you know something, logic is on the foundation of a belief. You believe logic is always consistent and true.
Well, then I go back to my original point. I know there's water. I know water exists. I don't have to believe it. I don't have to logic it. I don't have to pray for it. I
Well,
know.
you can
It's
just
a
assume
fact.
the belief.
Water
built-
exists.
Yeah, I agree with you, but he's trying to say to you that knowing that is built on the belief of logic.
Well, I guess you could make that argument if you try hard enough, but
That's what you have to believe if you use logic. Otherwise, it's paradoxical. If you don't believe that, then all the logic you use to come to your conclusions they wouldn't work.
yeah, but do I need to do anything else but just know there's water there? Do I have to believe it?
No, but that's why he was saying most people take that part for granted. They don't think about it. We just all assume logic is true, right? We don't have a basis for why we do that. We just have to apply that because that's the only way we can function, really.
You don't have a basis to believe logic is true?
No, it's just axiomatic. It just is, right? We just hold it to be true at all times in all places.
Well,
It's not
if
like
you're
you haven't
reasonable, you would
proven
have a
that.
reason. The reason why it is true is because it's congruent, I guess, consistent, useful, and what's the other one? Congruent, consistent, coherent, and useful. That's according to philosophynow.org.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you go down the logic train far enough with philosophy, that's where it ends up. Exactly what Lion was saying. The foundation of all things is on belief. That's how the axiom works. If you didn't believe the axiom was true, then you wouldn't use it.
And you can just assume the belief that you know a thing.
Well,
You can just assume.
that's what we do. It's taken for granted. We skip that step in all arguments. We don't usually come to this step. It's only brought up once you go down these philosophical rabbit holes.
So, but are you saying logic is false?
I'm not saying it's false. I'm just saying like SC's example, right? If we can say we know things, but that knowing is always built on the belief that the logic we're using is true.
Well, if you put it that way, I mean, okay, but I still stand to my point. Like, we could just know something, right?
Yeah, but it's built
Like,
on a
I
belief.
know
That's all he
snow
was getting at.
exists, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm here in Canada.
correct.
Now, I mean, to me, it's that simple. I know snow exists. I know water exists, right? I know if I don't drink water, I'm gonna die.
I
Now
agree with
that
you.
one you can, play around with it, but the fact that you know water exists, I mean, it's there. I mean, there's
It's silly to think
Yeah, and
about, but there's no way around it. You can look this up.
well, I
Any logic
disagree.
and philosophy. Yeah,
I
go ahead.
disagree, Anchovy, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry about that. But I was saying, I'm just learning here that you can shift from knowing because it's inescapable. Or I'll just read it to you here. To deny logic, you must construct an argument. That argument will rely on the premises, consistency, and conclusion. In other words, you have to use logic to try and disprove logic. So, if someone says logic is a lie, they are asserting that their statement is true and its opposite is false. That distinction of the law is a non-contradict one. So you don't just believe logic because someone taught it to you. You know it is impossible to formulate a coherent reality where it does not apply. So now you can move from like believing, I guess, yeah, like someone teaches it to you. But then now when you know that it's impossible to formulate a coherent reality without it, right? So now you go from it's impossible, like from belief where someone taught it, and now you know it's impossible to even formulate without using logic. So you know it's true.
No, you're the axiom, right? So the axiom that the axiom is self-evident, right? You have to start with assumptions in order to have a coherent system of thought. So